Hello there, guys. Looks like we are live, so I'm hoping you guys can hear me loud and clear. Please let me know in the live chat if I'm coming in loud and clear for y'all. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Friday night, KJ's What Happened, 7 p.m. Central Standard. Thank you so much for being here for the show, man. This is a subject I've been wanting to get into. I haven't really had enough to make a specific video right now on this particular subject, but because there's so much stuff to cover. So sometimes I like to just do a live show like this. I've been starting to do this recently where I just kind of go through everything. I need to get it out. The stuff gets inside of me and I have to get it out. That's how it works. Oh, by the way, I dropped a brand new video yesterday, which is not safe for this website. So I posted it everywhere else. I've got several other sites that I post my videos to. So please go check it out. Links below, BitChute and Rumble under KJOZBORNE. Scariest movie ever over on Odyssey, and then of course Instagram and Twitter X. So please check it out. I've been trying to get out here for a little bit. Stuff will build up in me. I'll get a subject into my head and it just builds up, and then I have to make a video or do a show or whatever, and it's the way it works. It's kind of how my weird psychology works. So thank you for caring enough to even check it out, to watch live or even to watch later. Just really appreciate you. Tamara, how you doing? Thank you so much for being here, man. Hope you're doing good. Appreciate everything. And good to see everyone coming in. Hey, Hidden Harpazo, Timothy Wright, Bell Nord, Tobias, Much Joy, RBS, Truth for Yeshua. And the list goes on. We get some big players in here tonight. Good to see you guys. Kathleen H., Cotton, Stacey, Cordell, Zach Mack. Pleasure to see you all. So yeah, that's basically the idea. Are we on the verge of the great UFO aLIEn Psy-Op? And I say yes. This is one of those things I've been watching for years. The Nut House says, I think Trump will be the POTUS that has disclosure. Probably. I mean, look at the timing of things. He's pretty much the last Trump, the last trumpet, the last president for America. So yeah, that'd be perfect timing. I could certainly see him coming out with it. Because it's going to be a major... Tim Mahurin, first off, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Very cool. Thank you, Tim. But yeah, no, I mean, it's... like I said, I've been watching it for years and years and years, and it becomes more clear to me now. I wasn't even looking at Rapture, Harpazo, any of that before 2020. And when 2020 hit, that just put everything into perspective for me. I realized that for the first time in human history, governments around the world can enforce policies on their people. The same policy. They can all be on the same script, and that was a real eye-opener for me. And then around that time is when I started getting more on the Rapture, the Harpazo, and started looking into it, looked up the scriptures, prayed a lot about it, because I wanted to know the truth of it, because I'd never really looked much into it until then. But anyway, since then I see and I know. But remember, always try to remember, and I do this too, let's not, bicker over differences of opinions, being brothers and sisters of Christ, in Christ, over some of these topics. We can't let them divide us. It happens with the rapture. It happens with flat earth, with the shapeshifters, with the demon seed amongst us. People get divided on things, but just try to remember, man, let's love each other as brothers and sisters in Christ. This world doesn't love us, as you know. And many of you have had your trials, and all of us have had our trials and tribulations in this world. So it's good to have a safe place to come to and to know that we can, love and trust our brothers and sisters in Christ. I know that's not always easy to do, man, because these are very divisive times, and there's a lot of crazy things happening, and there's a lot to keep track of, So anyway, we do the best we can over here. We're certainly right on the verge of tribulation, of all of it truly popping off. And thank you, Nut House. I appreciate you, man. That's cool. Thank you. So we're right there on the verge. So if you're listening right now, and if you haven't accepted the free gift of salvation from Jesus Christ, I beg you to do so, to look into it, hopefully you do it today if you haven't done it yet, because you really are running out of time. This is one thing I know. The Lord's communicated with me through numbers for years. Started around 2012 with 111. Still see it all the time. Had it today. Had a couple today. So it's all the time. And over the last close to a year, he's been bringing in 911, different versions of 911 that I would see in sequences just like the 111s. Like sometimes 3-4 times in one day. That's not as common, but it does happen. But oftentimes it's at least once a day, maybe twice, I'll get these numbers, so it's been that way forever. And, these are the things that really count to me. It's not anybody else telling me something or whatever else, or something I'm watching on TV. It's a communication with the Lord, and some people will think you're crazy. My parents that raised me in church, when I've told them about some of these supernatural experiences, I can tell it's cringe to them a little bit. But again, as we've talked about, a lot of the religious-minded folks have a really hard time with talking about the supernatural. That's just something they don't really get into, because they get into that fast food mentality with church. It's like, I did my time, I did my Sunday, I brought something to the potluck, whatever. And then they go back into the world and live like the world for 6 days and make sure they do their church time. And as you need to have a real relationship with the Lord, man. You talk to him every day. Pray, talk. I do both. Read the word with him. I still open it up every morning. I don't read every morning, but most mornings I read a little bit. I've gotten better about that. But, just read the Bible with him. Ask him to help you. Read the word with me, Lord, please. However you want to put it. But, have a relationship with him, man. He loves you. He loves us so much it's hard to even wrap my mind around it sometimes. And you learn about that when you do read in the Word. You find out the kind of love he has for us. It's incredible. So anyway, guys, that being said, without further ado, I want to go and jump in. I've got several clips we're going to go through, and we're going to kind of look at this great UFO aLIEn Psy-Op that's upon us. And we'll go from there, all right? So there's plenty to get into, so I'm looking forward to hanging out with you all tonight. Thank you again so much. Always a pleasure, guys. Truly, I mean that. Thank you very much. And let's go ahead and switch this up. We'll do that. All right. Just to begin, as I've said so many times before, man, and y'all already know, but the pages of the Bible are flying out into our reality. We're living in prophetic times. So just a little reminder, I wanted to read a little bit before we get started in this. The UFO alien deception is huge, and it really is a big part of what's coming. Before we get there, though, let's take a look at this right here and just understand where we're at right now. This is Matthew chapter 24. Shoot, go down a little bit. Here we go. I'll start here on 4. And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. We just had that one dude that came out, looked like a lead singer of a new metal band, saying he was the Antichrist, right? And there have been plenty of other people out there saying they're Jesus. We've seen this, and, whatever, right? So, yeah, for many shall come in my name, he says, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. And shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Hello, look at where we're at right now. The formation of Gog and Magog, Ezekiel wars, wow. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars everywhere right now. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, we're seeing it now, kingdom against kingdom everywhere. And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. Yeah, how about that? So, the system's trying to bring on famine. As you know, of course, the earthquakes are popping off. A lot of people are watching for an earthquake that's supposed to happen in the ocean. I've been seeing a lot of people talking about that. I may have something for tomorrow to share on KJ's what happened on that, but a lot of people are talking about the earthquake in the ocean and how once it triggers, it's supposed to really set off the ring of fire, if you're familiar with the ring of fire. All of these are but the beginning of sorrows. We're just in the beginning. Then they shall deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended. Hello? It's like so 2025. Look at how people get so easily offended now. And especially, I mean, just a great example is the red Trump hat. You know, make America great again. Look at that hat. People have lost their lives for wearing that hat. It's true. And been a lot of people going to jail for attacking people and hurting people for wearing that hat. But that's just one example. Many shall be offended and shall betray one another and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. I see that too. Just look at the news. The wickedness in a lot of people. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world, a witness unto all nations. And then shall the end come. Here it is. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. And it's talking about the tribulation. But pray ye that your flight not be in winter, neither on the Sabbath day, for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. The worst time in human history. And except those days shall be shortened, which it's like feels like it's happening now in a way, right? There shall be no flesh saved, but for the elect's sake those days shall be shortened. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. I believe that's going to have a lot to do with the aliens and UFOs. Behold, I have told you before, wherefore if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in secret chambers, believe it not. Let's scroll down some. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with great power. All right. What was I? There's something else I was wanting to read in here. Here he is. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. This is talking about what's coming up soon. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Here it is. Then shall two be in the field, then one shall be taken and the other left. That's weird. Two women shall be grinding at the mill, then one shall be taken and the other left. Watch therefore, for you know not what hour our Lord doth come. This is talking about the rapture. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore you also be ready, for in such an hour as you think not, the Son of Man will come. So I want to cover a little bit of Matthew 24. Certainly we're living in these times right now, y'all. Pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. It's also very exciting, you know. It's like, but I'm so focused on it, on all the craziness happening, I sometimes forget to get excited about how cool this is, and we get to be with our Father, you know, like real soon. All right, so just want to share a little bit of that. Let's jump over here and start off. Just kind of go through some of these. These are all new. This is from July 11th. So actually today. What am I thinking? This is actually from today. Confirmed, New York records 66 UFO sightings in just 6 months, and some of them will take your breath away. And there's definitely more than that, I would say. But just some UFOs in the headlines. UFO sightings are increasing across the United States and in Michigan, where 36 sightings have been reported in the Great Lakes state this year. But I know there's more. Over 60 UFO sightings reported whizzing across state in first half of 2025. What was that? Which state? New York. All right, New York. So more and more. They're in the news. This is from July 7th. Eerie details of zigzagging UFOs spotted over U.S. state, with 66 new encounters reported in only first 6 months of the year. Over 60 UFO sightings have been reported already on the East Coast this year. These are all recent. Scientists discover mysterious sphere in Colombia, sparking UFO speculation. This has been one of the interesting ones right here. You guys heard about these UFO spheres? I've got some video on it coming up, but there's more than one. There's one that they discovered in Colombia. Oh, is this one you've got to like... Oh, it's not going to let me check the article out unless I subscribe to it, I guess. Let's see what this is.
I think it's fascinating. I think that... So what I think is that we are entering... I mean, let me just frame this from a bigger picture, because this is a small part of a bigger picture, right? So we are entering a time when we are starting as humans to recognize we don't have the control that we thought we had over everything. I mean, I think we kind of humans got into this of shapes in terms that have been reported since the 1940s of UFOs. So that's pretty common, are these round things, right? If you look back at Project Sign, SIGN, you can learn more about that. But there's no connection that's made between the thing that was floating and then the sphere that was found, right? So you have to be kind of...
I'll go ahead and move on. I was hoping they'd have some footage of it, but I've got some footage coming up. But it's these orbs, the orb UFOs. Remember there was one at an airport like about 6 months ago everybody was tripping out about? There was the egg-shaped UFO that everybody was tripping out about, a few months ago. And now there's these orbs, like metal objects. Like I'll show you some more of that in a little bit. Come back to these. Kind of have everything kind of segmented off. Here's another big one. Remember Oumuamua, or Oumuamua, or however they pronounce that thing, but it was the Interstellar Object that entered our solar system. This happened a while back, and they were saying that the way it was moving, it was as if it was like intelligently being guided, right? So remember, all of this though is just preparation for the introduction, for what's coming, for the aliens and the UFOs, right? But that's the way I've been seeing it for quite a while now, is that Satan obviously has to have an answer for this. The world is about to experience one of the greatest supernatural events that's ever occurred, and only second to the first time we had, the days of Noah and the floods. I mean, this is going to be something really big. So what is the devil going to do? Well, that's why the whole alien UFO, all this stuff starts coming into focus, and it makes more sense. I'm not the only one that sees it this way, and there have been a lot of people I've shown you guys throughout the years having dreams and visions of this very thing, of connecting the UFOs and aliens to the rapture of the church. So it makes sense. What's Satan's explanation going to be? That'll be it, I believe. And I'm not the only one. There's others. NASA discovers interstellar comet. Now they're calling it a comet. I've heard it's the first time I've seen them say it was a comet, moving through solar system. So a lot of people have been talking about this. Apparently this is the third time we've had like a major interstellar object come into our solar system in recent times. So a lot of people are talking about it. What could it be? Every time I see stuff like this, though, all of it to me is just it's preparing the public. That's it. It's always just preparing the public for what's to come. Everyone's getting psyched about the UFOs and the aliens. So crazy and evil. Did UFO experiencer Chris Bledsoe predict World War III? I've got a few UFO whistleblower types in here. I wanted to show us some of these. Let's check this one out.
World War III, full blown with Iran and Israel. But they told me it didn't have to happen, that if we wake up, that we can...
And it didn't have to come to that. We had a choice of going up or going down. And there's destruction, and that's basically what they showed me. Did they tell you when it was going to happen? They told me when you see Israel and Iran beginning to exchange weapons, I can see them plainly. This is going into Iran and into Syria. I wrote this long before they ever started firing weapons at Syria in 2012. I put all this in writing, that they will be sending missiles into Syria and Iran. And at that point is when the phenomenon was going to come into our existence and reveal itself to the people. And when the people accept that, people become more powerful when you experience this physically or psychically, and in other ways as well. I think that the powers that be know that. So basically, I'm just playing careful with the music. There's always like something to do with music on YouTube, man. They're weird like that. But he's talking about, well, these times. And he wrote this book a while back, UFO of God, all right, from Chris Bledsoe. But he's saying when you see Israel and Iran and weapons and whatnot, this is the time to be ready for this, for the unveiling, right, for the UFOs and aliens, so-called UFOs and aliens to show up. So according to him, from what he wrote in that book, this is a time to be watching. Here's another one, been big talk here lately. Also, when you look at, over the last couple months, I've shown some examples, I'm sure you've seen them elsewhere, of the second sun sightings. A lot of people are seeing a second sun. Then sometimes people are capturing the sun itself looking completely different, unlike anything we've ever seen before, and not just the white dot that it's turned into over the last couple years. In all of this, people believe it's in reference to the Anunnaki returning to the Earth. So the Anunnaki are returning to the Earth, according to one interview from a man with insider Pentagon sources. Let's see what he has to say. And you may have heard about this, but there have been people talking about the Anunnaki returning here lately quite a bit, especially with the two suns we're seeing up in the sky.
A number of things that I've heard from people in the Pentagon, that the buzzword in the secret of secrets in the Pentagon is the Sumerian gods are returning, and that's what they're referring to as that whole area that Peter's.
Wow! Can you repeat that again, just in case anybody missed it? The buzzword
in the Pentagon, in the military circles that are in the know about the cover-up here, they kind of in whispered tones talk about the return of the Sumerian gods. And they're talking about the what we would call aliens or fallen angels returning into the Middle East, into Old Sumer area.
The Anunnaki.
Well, could be.
Under the ancient names.
Do you think that has anything to do with why we're in Iran?
A number of things
All
that...
right, so there's that. The Anunnaki returning. The end of the world. I'm so ready to be with Jesus. I don't know about y'all. I'm just so ready. And we're close. John Ramirez on CIA tracking people with possible alien-human hybrid DNA. They look like people.
Had an enhancement of this alien DNA. That is to say that basically we're all aliens in some respect. But some of us, some humans, have an enhancement of that alien DNA. And that was the first time I ever heard that. To me, that was the most shocking thing I ever heard of. I didn't know that.
Why were they so interested in the DNA of extraterrestrials and the DNA of humans that may contain extraterrestrials for maybe enhancements? I don't know.
There's a cognizance, I believe, within the intelligence community, particularly CIA, that there are humans among us that might be more extraterrestrial than human. And how do you identify them? That could be a major factor in why they were interested in that. And there's also the, I guess you would call contact tracing of like who's who.
Right.
And so what they did reveal that there was an interest in certain families.
How would you understand families?
I understand families to mean bloodlines.
Right.
That they were interested in certain bloodlines going back to
ancient times.
Who knows? Ancient
family
times.
Lines.
Did they mention other heritages around the planet that through this marker?
I was specifically told that the Cherokee heritage, the Cherokee Nation, had something to do with the phenomenon.
I'm Cherokee.
And furthermore, that it has something to do with perhaps even the actual existence of Atlantis. That they.
Man, I showed in one of my videos a while back that video of the old American Indian man talking about the UFOs. Dang, I should have pulled that one up too. About the UFOs and aliens coming down, and they're going to be coming down. There'd be a president that had a bunch of people around him with red hats. Do you guys remember that? It's pretty wild. That was probably a couple months ago.
They may have been survivors of Atlantis. But then I can't prove that. I can't divulge a source. I was told by a very credible source.
And what was their take on Atlantis, since we're speaking about it?
I believe that their take is it's an actual, and it's not myth and legend, it's an actual place.
Do they know where it's at?
No.
No.
I don't know where it's at, and they didn't tell me where it's at.
But what would give them that idea that the Cherokee heritage is connected to the Atlantean time, unless they had some sort of DNA to compare it to from Atlantis?
I think because that there's a preponderance of people in the intelligence community and in the military community, especially special operators, who've had these experiences, and when they examine these people and start questioning them about their background, about their family heritages, that it was a preponderance of Cherokee heritage associated with not only having these experiences, but with having implants.
So the suggestion of implants means it's possibly currently ongoing.
Yeah, man. I've mentioned in the past, I was adopted, and when my mom told me this long ago, but even when they brought me out to her, they said, well, we have a little Indian baby here for you. So I'm guessing the mother was the American Indian, right? They say I'm Indian and German, is what I've been told, But I tried to find my Indian heritage. Tried to prove it when I went to college, because if I could prove it, I could get a tribal number, and you actually get really great benefits, like free college and stuff like that. But anyway, it's kind of a long story. The guy met with the mother and all that, but she didn't want to get involved, didn't want to involve the father, who she just met in a concert. Like, literally, she went to a concert somewhere in Oklahoma City and hooked up with one of the guys in the band. I'm not even kidding. And that's hi. Then here along comes KJ. And I don't, I never cared to meet these people or know them or anything like that, but I just wanted to prove the Indian thing. But I'm told I'm a quarter. I don't know how true all that is, but I wish I could prove it anyway.
Yes, it is. Because implants have been recovered from people, not just those who are in the military or intelligence community, but from others.
Well, being in this meeting, John, and listening to the biology and all the tech being, presented to you, and you going through this experience already, your whole life of, these different experiences with ET intelligence, what was going through your mind? What was your emotion?
My feeling was that this was why I had those experiences to begin with. That perhaps I was taken. And I never used the word abducted.
Okay, I'll go and stop there. I just want to play a little bit of their interview. Thanks, gents. You did good. We're proud of you. And next up, if they confirm this, that means the prophecy about 2026 and 2027 is true. Scientists are seriously analyzing whether or not this is an extraterrestrial ship heading towards us. I think this is talking about the new thing that's entered the solar system. But I'm super careful with this joker. There's several people in the kind of mainstreamy now UFO Collective, and this guy's one of them. Jeremy something, I think. Can't remember his name, but anyway, there's a few of them like this guy that I feel are just bad news. They're also just playing their part, and they're setting the world up in their own way for what's about to happen, what's coming. For the aliens, let's check some of this out from this guy. Again, I tread carefully with some of these popular UFO researchers that get a lot of press,
Your government now wants you to know one truth, and that truth is that UFOs are real. They've already told you. Sometimes when you want somebody to know a truth, it's so you can set them up to believe a lie. And that's coming. I have zero doubt that lie is coming.
What is the lie?
Specifically, you want me to say it right now, for real? Real?
Yeah, put it out there.
On camera.
Yeah.
To be put in the show?
Today.
Okay.
Like right now.
Problem with that. If we tell the lie before it's told, they can adapt. That wouldn't be wise. I'll tell you privately, but I would really think about if you want to put this in your show. For real.
I'm sure.
That's a real thing, I'm telling you.
Ooh.
So will you
Groundbreaking.
think about it before putting it in your show?
Okay.
Okay. So UFOs are real,
Duh.
and they've been here a long time.
They're demons.
And that's the truth.
It's tricksters.
But the
Tricksters.
lie is coming.
What is it?
All indications, like all of them, is that that lie is going to be that there is a craft slowly making its way to us here on Earth. And that is the lie they're going to want you to believe. It's nuanced, how they explain that, the nature of that threat. But that 100% is the lie you are going to be told. You even got a date. People have been whispering a date for a long time now. I know where that lie comes from. I know specifically what document from the 70s initiated the idea of that lie. A classified document. That is the lie you will be told.
He does come off fake, though, doesn't he? Like, he always comes off real fake to me, but I still watch the people, and you discern. Because a lot of these half-truth tellers, they're very popular for a reason. They are putting some truth out. And this guy gets a lot of views. You know, these UFO guys, a lot of people are paying attention to them. So maybe they will use this. Oh, well, that strange object that just entered our solar system, you know, who knows? But I see everything as a setup. Like all these different things are setups, you know. And this is a good one to go back to from a year ago because it was a really big deal when it came out. Want to know what to know from the Congressional UFO hearings. You guys remember this? It's just about a year ago, man. Huge UFO hearings. Huge. Like up at the government. And a lot of interesting bits came out from all of this. So I'll check just some of this here out first.
Today, as we just said, the bipartisan push for transparency, certainly decades in the making. The nation watched gripping testimony of UAPs, accusations of a government cover-up, calls for action, and demands for greater transparency on this issue. What are these unidentified objects? Where did they come from? And are we alone? Take a listen. Here are some of the key highlights from that hearing.
I know this is old. Somebody's like, this is super old. Well, it's like a year old. But like I said just before I played it, you know, it's good to go back sometimes and see some of this. This is from a year ago. Yes, it's older. Most of the things I'm showing you today are current, but sometimes it's good to go back and just, you know, remember some of this, okay? This was a big deal, and this brought it to the public's attention. It was on the news at night, you know, some of it. But the stuff I'm showing you didn't really make the news. There's some interesting bits that came out of all of this, and all of it, again, just preparing the public.
Finally, I'd like to thank these three brave witnesses here. They took an oath. They took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States, and dadgummit, they're doing it. And we owe them a debt of gratitude.
I have experienced advanced UAP firsthand, and I'm here to voice the concerns of more than 30 commercial aircrew and military veterans who have confided their similar encounters with me. Today, I would like to highlight three critical issues that demand our action. As we convene here, UAP are in our airspace, but they are grossly underreported. These sightings are not rare or isolated, they are routine. Military aircrew and commercial pilots, trained observers whose lives depend on accurate identification, are frequently...
I don't know about you, but I always watch the people behind the people and stuff like this. Watch the eyes. That looks like Sean Ryan over to the right, who hasn't blinked yet. I'm just saying, I don't know if that's him or not, but...
witnessing these phenomena. The stigma attached to UAP is real and powerful and challenges national security. It silences commercial pilots who fear professional repercussions, discourages witnesses, and is only compounded by recent government claims questioning the credibility of eyewitness testimony. Parts of our government are aware of more about UAP than they let on, but excessive classification practices keep crucial information hidden. Since 2021, all UAP videos are classified as secret or above. This level of secrecy not only impedes our understanding, but fuels speculation and mistrust. Or J-hooks. If everyone...
All right, just want to play a little bit of that. I got a few of these I wanted to show. Play a little bit. This one's 30 minutes long. We'll just play. We'll jump around. Top secret UFO documents finally declassified. This is from just 3 weeks ago. So top secret UFO documents finally declassified. I'd never cared much about all that. I already know, you know, the way I see it. But I look at the public when I see these stories. I think of just Joe and Joanna Public that don't really pay attention. And this is the kind of stuff that'll get their attention. So they're seeing a news flash, top secret UFO documents finally declassified. I mean, all of it just stacks on more and more inside people's psyches and their minds. And then that way, when the great day comes, you know, for this, people will be good and prepared in a way, right? It'll be like, what's that term? Revelation of the method. Yeah, it's like they'll put it out, right? The truth of it in a way, but it's all going to be their narrative. You know, they're going to put it out in a way that's going to fit their narrative, and they can use that. And it's certainly their narrative is not going to be that these are demonic entities, or that these are trickster spirits. You know, they're going to go all in on this UFO bit. Let's see. Let's check this out. The new FBI is investigating UFOs.
Real phenomena, or also known as UAPs, UFOs. It's the first time that the group has ever been publicly disclosed, according to Politico. That claim coming from former Navy pilot Ryan Graves. If you remember, he was the first active duty pilot to come forward about regular sightings of UAPs. We heard his whistleblower testimony in front of Congress last year. Graves says the FBI working group is made up of more than a dozen staff who, quote, spend much of their time tracking down UAPs. I now want to bring in Ryan Graves. He's co-founder of Americans for Safe Aerospace. Ryan, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. I mean, this is the first time the public is learning of this secret group, this probe into UFOs. You've spoken to these agents. Who are they, and what exactly are they working on right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So these agents have taken upon this responsibility as a part of a bottoms-up approach in order to understand what potential illegalities might be occurring with objects that are operating within our airspace that we're not properly tracking or mitigating. The FBI has both a law enforcement as well as a counterintelligence responsibility. So having objects that are harassing military bases as well as the general public over our national airspace squarely fits within their domain of responsibilities.
Yeah. You know, I think a lot of Americans are listening to this segment right now, seeing this headline saying, what, FBI agents, you know, looking into UFOs? How long have they been a group, Ryan, and tasked with investigating them?
Well, my understanding is that they kicked off this work in about 2020. We've been engaging with them for the past year and a half. And what that primarily looks like, we receive a lot of reports at Americans for Safe Aerospace, some that might have serious national security implications. And so with the permission of the pilots or the witnesses, we've referred the pilot to interview with these groups such that these agents can then follow up on the reports, gather additional information, talk to additional witnesses, and look for gaps in our national security that they can address for the nation.
Mm-hmm. Do you know if they found anything so far? I mean, have they told you anything, any specifics?
Well, of course, they're limited to what they can share with me.
And just remember, man, from our perspective, to me, this kind of stuff's always really interesting because just think what we know. We understand this is all demonic deception. There's also going to be some real ships in there, and then holograms, right? The blue beam stuff, but and then all these other people, like, they're still on this thing that, oh, these are visitors from another planet, you know, and that's how they're putting it out to the people. And it's just incredible, man. Like, the people, the public is really, really being set up, you know, for this stuff. It's interesting, man.
About these ongoing investigations, I'm not read in or part of the group in an official capacity necessarily.
Yeah, lying signs
we're
and wonders.
Essentially trying to do the right thing by ensuring these gaps don't go unmitigated. But from what I've what I understand is that their investigations have been very fruitful, and they've been able to move the ball both in an unclassified and classified regime forward quite a bit.
And I understand several of them have told you that they're worried about losing their job in a Trump-targeted purge, since a lot of them worked on January 6th cases. You know, agents across the board have to fill out this questionnaire about their work on the Capitol attack. What are they sharing with you on that end, and what would your message to the White House be in regards to that?
Yeah, you know, there are expected to be a number of purges within the FBI, and although this isn't a classified effort, it is a quiet effort within the Bureau, and the fear was that these agents would get wrapped up into this larger removal of agents within the FBI and leave the UAP investigation essentially hung and dry where it is. So my message.
Jump ahead some.
The Defense Department has been collecting intelligence and data on UFOs by analyzing radar, video, as well as accounts of naval pilots since 2007. Well, leaks on intel from a defense report due this month show the results now of that data.
The government wanted to research objects in the sky that could pose a threat to national security, just like the ones in some of these videos.
Man, these UFO videos are so boring compared to what we've seen.
Whoa, splashed.
Well, if there's like a thing, it's rotating.
What is it out there? News Nation's Adrian Bankert joining us live from the newsroom tonight with a breakdown on these initial findings. Adrian.
All right, guys, listen, for years, as we've all known.
All right, I'll go and stop. I just want to play a little bit of the mainstreamy stuff. So a little bit more, 30 minutes. We'll jump around as we do. Reported UFO sightings across the U.S. And this is from 5 days ago. So, yeah, there's a bunch coming in.
Holy... And they were all... Maybe the second they left, maybe 3-4 seconds pass, I run to my station and I look at my radar and they're all gone. They're all off radar. And I was like, that's it. They all zoomed off. But it's clear that they're in communication with one another and synchronized, like 3, 2, 1 countdown, let's all go.
This Tic Tac had no typical propulsion, no exhaust, no wings, no tail, no rotors, the kinds of things that we all use to get around. It reminded me actually of the first reported Tic Tac sighting back in 2004. That one was also off the coast of Southern California, and it was caught on video by U.S. Navy pilots.
What's going on under the water? So this is a hotspot location. It's not just isolated to the West Coast, but the Tic Tac shape does seem to be something that is reoccurring often.
Boring Tic Tac. Man, we've seen some crazy UFOs over here, haven't we? Mavi UFO alarm alone
Are on the rise amid recent government acknowledgement of UFOs or UAPs as potential threats. The latest research estimates only around 5% or less of people who witness unusual aerial phenomenon, though, actually are filing a report. Christian Stepien is the Chief Technology Officer of the National UFO Reporting Center. Thank you for being here. If people see something, why aren't they reporting it?
I think there's a number of reasons people don't report things. One, certainly in the past, there's been a stigma associated with seeing UFOs and reporting them. There's been certainly an attempt by the government over the years to kind of explain away sightings, make people think they might have psychological issues, things like that, especially with the military and pilots. It was very dangerous for people to come forward and report UFOs because it could affect their career. As far as the general public goes, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that people simply aren't aware of where to go to report things. So the more that we can promote and make widely known agencies such as ourselves and MUFON where people can report UFOs, the more reports we'll get. I think also people tend to get busy. They tend to just not have time. They're living busy lives and they just don't get around to reporting. What I've found in my own personal life is that if you go talk to your neighbors, your friends, you're almost certainly bound to find people who have seen UFOs. But
right. I want to stop there. But yeah, he's right. Like I was saying earlier, man, I mean, there's been so many sightings out there over the years, all around the world. And it's one thing, again, big shout out to Mavi UFO Alarm Channel. But man, they're happening all over the world. Now here's one that really made the rounds over the last week. And it looks like, this looks, you know, remember there's a mix. There's some of these things are interdimensional beings that shapeshift. Some things are actual ships, you know, that we've created, that governments have created. But then there's also the holograms and, you know, that kind of a thing, blue beam and whatnot. This looks like a pretty good candidate for that to me, for a possible blue beam situation.
Two-Piece, it's a UFO for real. What is a UFO, bitch? No, we not making this shit up. Look at her, she gonna put it's a UFO for real, y'all. That is crazy. Y'all, that's crazy. It's a UFO for real, y'all. I promise y'all. Look, we got all these street lights. There ain't no damn street light. My uncle talking about that's the street light. No. I bet anybody $1,000. That ain't no street light, bro. That's a UFO. No, that's not. This a fucking street light right here. This the fucking street light. That ain't no fucking street light. That's the street light. I mean, that's the light beaming down on me.
Here's one of the orbs. So these things, this is in Mexico. These little metal orbs, they've been being seen around the world too, lately. And I've got a video where they actually have one. This wouldn't be a blue beamy thing. I think that's a real object. I showed on KJ's What Happened, I think last week, they have confiscated one of these orbs, and they've been picking it apart. It's pretty amazing looking on the outside. It looks like some kind of weird ancient technology. And of course it had the pyramid and sun symbol on it, so no surprise there. So these little stinkers are going to be showing up. Here's another one. Let me see where this one is. Did he say? Tokyo. Yeah, so this is in Tokyo. I'm telling you, man, the metal spheres, these are showing up in different spots around the world. It's a little closer. We get it. It's a sphere. And you got this one. Hard to say what's going on with that. I'll go and stop it there. I just want to play a few of those from an OG YouTuber. I've been subbed to this guy since probably 2012. UFO Mania, the truth is out there. He's from France, actually. He's a Frenchman. And he's been uploading UFOs and paranormal stuff for years and years and years. Here's one I showed I thought was cool. This was, I showed it on KJ's What Happened. This has happened over the last couple weeks. But it looks like we have a Jesus figure up in the clouds. Even looks like his arm's out. Isn't that cool? That's a good one. That's cool, huh? There have been a lot of those lately also, and I've shown them on my shows of people capturing humanoid type figures walking on the clouds, which is always pretty cool. This is information and plan was leaked to Bill Ryan and released in a video way back in 2010. So let's check this out. Talking about what's coming. The UFOs. Aliens.
The plan is to provoke Iran or China to retaliate. And our guy, our source, who is a military man, is privately as convinced as he can be although this has never been made public and this is not publicly known, that Iran does have nuclear weapons. He believes that they have been provided by China behind the scenes. And all of this is intended because it's all right with these controlling forces that Iran has nuclear weapons, because they want them to be used. The plan is for either Iran or for China to retaliate after Iran is struck with a nuclear weapon. At that point, there will be a limited nuclear exchange in the Middle East, followed by a ceasefire. He heard this being planned in this meeting. This is being choreographed. It's like the script for a movie. This is exactly what's intended to happen. And then, he said, then the real war starts. Something that would be justifiably called the Third World War, with a much more major nuclear exchange. They believe that there is going to be what he called a geophysical event, a major geophysical event. There have been trillions of dollars that have been spent on deep underground bases for some reason, which we don't know why it is. That there are repeated cyclical geophysical events about every 11,500 years. Information about what really happened to Atlantis was very probably in the Great Library of Alexandria that burnt down a couple of thousand years ago. There are persistent rumors that much of that information has been retrieved and it's in the Vatican Library. This is information which is not in the public domain.
It's pretty interesting. Someone asked if that's Rick Clay. No. But on my... This is from Bill Ryan, is his name. Very interesting what he was just saying about Iran. There'd be like conflict there, then there'd be peace. Man, pretty crazy. I'm not sure about all the other stuff he's saying, but I thought that was a really interesting bit about Iran. And on my old channel, The Scariest Movie Ever, on that channel, I actually had a playlist for Rick Clay videos. I had several on there that I remember now. But Rick Clay was around back 2012 or so. He was kind of in this community, if you will, and was really good. Like, he had good vision, good sight. He could see, he could understand, like when it comes to symbols and whatnot. He was deep, a young guy, and he passed away, unfortunately, like way back. It was like 2013 or something. I don't know. He passed away a long time ago. But in his short period of time and the videos he made, they were really fantastic. So Rick, R-I-K-C-L-A-Y, if you want to look him up. Author and investigative journalist Dr. Thomas Horn explains what the CERN Collider's purpose really is. It's just something for fun I wanted to put in here real quick. Listen to a little bit of Tom Horn. He's awesome. And they're trying to build other CERN-type LHC colliders around the world right now in different places. I don't know if you knew that. It's kind of weird.
CERN are expecting to find other dimensions and open portals to these dimensions. If you have the image of Stargate in your head right now, you're spot on. That's what he said. And then he went on to draw parallels to the biblical story of Jacob's ladder. Perhaps you remember the dream that says, "Behold, there was a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it." Then Jacob wakes up from his sleep and he says, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it." And he was afraid. And he says, "How awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven," Genesis 28. Now this ladder, described in the first book of the Bible, describes something like a portal from heaven to earth through which God's angels, interdimensional and spiritual beings from another reality, were traveling. When Jacob wakes up, he refers to the location as a gate, much like today's trendy terms gateway or Stargate. One of CERN's goals is to recreate Jacob's ladder, according to Barker, and to reopen a portal. Now, Sergio Bertolucci, who is the official director for research and scientific computing at CERN, he was asked a while back about this extra-dimensional doorway by The Register, which is a London and New York operated science and technology journal. And he didn't hesitate with an enlightening response. He said, "Yes, out of this door might come something, or we might send something through it. Now, prophecy in numerous parts of the Bible refer to a coming day when portals will be opened and spiritual entities are going to pass through and come to the earth. Now, if that's true, and if those verses are accepted for their literal meaning and not written off as some kind of poetic allegory, as some scholars have claimed, then the idea of CERN playing with gateways is a major concern.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
And if, as CERN claims, they're only out to explore space, time, matter, particles, and the origin of our known universe and planets from exclusively a scientific or Darwinian-related perspective, if their agenda is unrelated to Bible prophecy entirely, then what is it with all this mystical symbolism that they knowingly are associating themselves with? Wouldn't it be more appropriate for them just to proudly display a polished statue of a particle or some artist depiction of the Big Bang instead of the statue of Shiva? For those who have not yet heard about this controversial piece of art that CERN proudly exhibits between buildings 39 and 40 near the main building of their operation, it stands as really the most visible and celebrated imagery behind their work, Shiva. This is the Hindu god of destruction. In 2004, the government of India, which has had a long-standing friendship with leaders behind the CERN project even before the completion of the Large Hadron Collider, they gifted CERN with this bronze work of an art depicting Shiva as Nataraja, the lord or sometimes king of the dance. This dance that Shiva performs in the sculpture is the one that provides the source of the creation cycle in Hindu mythology, the preservation of all life in existence and the termination of all life in existence. The Rudra Tandava is a dance that especially displays Shiva's sadistic personality as he rains down the ultimate destruction upon a weary planet.
I'll go and stop there. It goes on a little longer, but for those of you who've never heard of Tom Horn, he's a brother in Christ. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us. Well, actually, fortunately, I'm sure he's doing just fine. But you should go check out some Thomas Horn. He's really fantastic. You'll learn a lot from this guy. So here's the orbs. Scientists react to the discovery of microscopic optical fibers with varying diameters inside the Bugosphere. So they're calling it the Bugosphere. Check it out.
Esta prueba no se puede discutir. No, Jaime. Aquí tenemos elementos suficientes en donde hay tecnología muy avanzada. Ya está. Es decir, lo que estamos viendo aquí en la pantalla es lo que se está viendo directamente con la cámara, el microscopio digital en la.
So they got a digital microscope on this sphere, and I'll show you the sphere in a second.
Esfera. 1000 aumentos.
1,000 times magnified.
Efectivamente. Es fascinante encontrarte esto en uno de los puntos negros que nosotros en un principio habíamos tratado de ver si esto era metálico y el resultado que nos arrojó era que había un polímero. Y mira ahorita Y el polímero tiene insertas la fibra óptica. Y ahí está.
Múltiples fibras ópticas. Múltiples fibras ópticas.
Son varias, Jaime. Y ahí podemos. Y ahorita podemos contar cuántas hay en este punto.
Primero, esta presencia de fibras, primero revelan que hay tecnología ahí y es incuestionable. Ahora, según el experto que consultó con el experto de fibras, esta fibra se utiliza como sensor para eventos.
That's pretty interesting. I want to get a good shot of the sphere itself. I guess they don't really show it in this one. They're mainly just showing everything they're seeing with a microscope. But you know, Remember the two little alien bodies they found a while back out there? And this is from Jaime Maussan. He's another old school dude on YouTube I've been subbed to forever, but famous UFO researcher, paranormal researcher down in Mexico, Jaime Maussan. And they did the same thing. They had the two alien bodies, and they did the what they just did here. They used a microscope or whatever. They looked inside the bodies, and they were real. Like, they're actual bodies, biological, which is pretty crazy. Let's see, the Bugosphere. All right, here's a little bit of it. We can take a look at it here, probably.
This one.
Look at that. All right, let me see. There's Jaime Maussan.
Seems to be, this is an antenna. The writing is apparently very old. However, we have not been able to determine what it says or what the message is.
Some kind of connection with very old language.
That looked like a sigil of Lucifer right there. I'm sorry.
Oh.
One of those looks like the sigil of Lucifer.
Perfect. This seems to be, this is an antenna.
Kind of.
The writing is apparently very old. However, we have not been able to determine what it says or what the message is.
There it is. That looks like, and I'd have to look more into all this, but reminds me of the sigil of Lucifer.
Some kind of connection with very old languages, no?
Some of the symbols that appear
Pyramids
here,
and suns.
Yes. In the initial analyses,
See the pyramids and suns on there?
95% aluminum.
The recording on my phone just reset.
Hey, actually, in the...
So there's that. Mainly just wanted to look at it. Let me see if there's any better shots here. It's weird. See that big pyramid and sun? I remember that was the first thing I noticed when I saw these. Like, oh boy. There's that. And there's that. So yeah, this is one they've actually got their hands on, which is pretty cool. April Daly, thank you so much, my friend. Good to see you too. Hope you're well. And let's see. That's pretty much it. But it's pretty wild, huh? I've actually captured one of these things. But it's all part of the setup, I believe. You know? It's getting people to realize, oh, these things are real. And then when the show begins, right, how many people are going to fall for that deception? And is this one the... Let me see what this one is.
It's a... Oh.
It's another sphere. It looks like... No,
it's a fucking UFO.
It just disappeared.
Where'd it go? Where the hell is it?
Alright, it's an old one. Just wanted to check it out. We got it. So the spheres is one part of it all. And here it is again.
Tell me what it's like, Josh.
It's heavier than it looks. It's definitely probably like 10 to 20 pounds for sure. It's a little cool to touch as well. It feels colder than the environment, but I wouldn't say like super significant, you know. I'm a little nervous, I'll be honest.
You feel?
I feel it. I'm like sweating a little bit. One, I don't want to drop it, but two, I feel like something extraordinary is going on. I mean, up close, it looks worn, you know? Like it looks like something that was flying in the sky and for a long time and took a little bit of like damage.
That's weird. The
but
circuit board.
It's heavier than you think.
Show me the symbols.
The first time, 2 kilograms. 6, 9, and 10.
So it's getting heavier.
Change the heavy.
Wow.
It's pretty interesting, yeah. So the question is, you know, where was that created? Who created that? Right? Was it, you know, black ops in our government? Perhaps reverse engineering? Is this something straight from the fallen ones, the tricksters, and the other characters in the Bible that aren't good? The Elohim? Is it something from them? I don't know. But it's definitely a new thing because I'm seeing it a lot. A lot of people are talking about it. Here's one of those I was talking about. It looks like a humanoid being walking up in the sky. I love this. I always think of I always think of Jesus, of course, when I see this stuff. You know, I don't know if it's something else or not, but I like to think it's him just making these small appearances, you know, maybe not even for a lot of people to see. But then we do, so people record the stuff and share it. Look at that, that's pretty cool. All by himself up there. I'm coming, kids. Hang in there. Children, I'll say. I don't like kids. It's little goats. It's two on the mark. I call them children. We're coming, Jesus. We're just waiting on you. Waiting on the Father to say, go time. Let's do this. Love it. Been a lot of those. I say a lot. Probably half a dozen I've seen over the last year or so. The humanoids. Does playing it by the book make Grush more Okay, so here's another one of the whistleblowers, David Grush, with Tucker.
This is a question about a topic that cannot be classified because it is illegal. But do you have any reason to believe that the U.S. government has hurt or killed anybody connected to these programs, American citizens?
There were concerns, like I stated during the hearing, of people that have espoused that to me. And of course, I brought some of those officers to the Inspector General, the Intelligence Committee Inspector General, because I'm like, this is serious. And I'm like, here's the law enforcement people you want to talk to, because I'm hands off. If that's true, you need to look into it. But
the allegation was murder?
Yes, and then physical harm. And I will say, while I won't get into the specifics because it's part of my open investigation, you know, besides the administrative stuff, and I don't know, it's an unknown entity to me. I do not know who did this, but their displeasure in me was made known in my personal life, and it, you know, it affected my wife and I had to report that to a certain counterintelligence element and a certain law enforcement element, because right before I filed my whistleblower complaint, you know, I felt that my life was in jeopardy, and that's what I was alluding to during the hearing, because, you know, we'll just say when you come home and you see something, you know, you've made somebody unhappy. And to this day, I don't know who it was. I don't think it was a foreign entity, but there was some element that I extremely angered, and I don't say that flippantly. I said it very seriously because I thought my life was in danger.
You can't get into details because it's part of the investigation.
It's part of the investigation. At some point, I'm happy to talk about it publicly. And also, as they say in the intelligence business, you don't acknowledge your tail. So I don't want to acknowledge some other things I've noticed that maybe
but it sounds like
supposed to be known.
You believe you've been surveilled and threatened.
Oh, 100%. It was obvious to me. And, you know, I mean, it was blatant, we'll just say, what I observed. And it was so concerning, I ended up reporting it to the authorities. And I asked my agency for certain protective measures. I can't get into that detail. But I was certainly petrified. And at the same time that those things were happening to me personally, they were happening at the same time to a certain other public figure that is known to the world, we'll just say. And
some of these guys and gals, you know, whistleblowers, are always in danger of becoming victims of gang stalking also. We've seen some people talk about that before too. Gosh, what was her name? There was a famous lady, Brandy, her name was, who was a whistleblower on the poisons, if you know what I'm saying. And she recorded a video before her passing, which was very suspect, showing that she'd become a victim of gang stalking, that they were doing weird things, you know, like moving a statue 2 feet over in the backyard, and just weird stuff like that, you know, trying to make people think they're going mental. That's a really dark game, you know, when they start doing that to people. And of course, there's the psychological side. There's people who are, you know, schizophrenic or whatnot, and come on, are you serious? TikTok? There we go. There is some psychological side to it too, where people are just screwed up, but there is an actual program where they do that to people and try to drive them crazy, right? This is from Grush.
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
Short one.
Okay, I can't ask when you think this occurred. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
And was this documentary evidence, this video, photos, eyewitness? Like, how would that be determined?
The specific documentation I would have to talk to you in a skiff about.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So, and you may or may not be able to answer my last question, and maybe we get into a skiff at the next hearing that we have, but who in the government, either what agency, sub-agency, what contractors, who should be called into the next hearing?
All right, I'll go and move on. I just want to play a little bit. I think we're done with Grush. This is about Project Bluebeam. Operation Paperclip scientist Werner von Braun's former assistant Carol Rosen says that von Braun explained to her their final play. This one I've put in videos in the past. You may have seen the clip in other places, but it's another good one. Old school. But check out what she's saying.
The strategy that Werner von Braun taught me was that first the Russians are going to be considered to be the enemy. In fact, when I met him in '74, they were the enemy, the identified enemy. We were told that they had killer satellites. We were told that they were coming to get us and control us, the dirty commies, that whole story. First, the Russians were the enemy against whom we're going to build space-based weapons. Then terrorists would be identified, and that was soon to follow. We heard a lot about terrorism. Then we were going to identify third world country crazies. We now call them nations of concern. But he said that would be the third enemy against whom we would be
Look at what's happening right now with the clash of cultures and the breaking of borders, right?
needing to build space-based weapons. And the next enemy was asteroids. Now, at this point, he kind of chuckled the first time he said it. Asteroids, against asteroids, we're going to build space-based weapons. So it was funny then. And the funniest one of all was against what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final card. And over and over and over, during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving his speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens. And all of it, he said, is a lie. He didn't mention a timeline, but he said that it was going to be speeding up faster than anybody could possibly imagine. That the effort to put weapons in space was not only based on a lie, but would accelerate past the point of people even understanding it until it was already up there and too late.
It's pretty wild because think about what Trump did in his first administration. Created Space Force, right? A whole new government agency, a whole new military branch. Space Force, right in time for these days that are ahead, right? It's pretty interesting hearing these people from the past and seeing how, like the other fella was talking about, Iran and Israel, exchanging weapons, right, back and forth, and then there'll be peace. Well, we're kind of even in that moment right now, which is pretty weird if you think about it. Whistleblower Jake Barber revealed he had a profound spiritual experience during his encounter recovering this craft. And this gets into the, like again, the spiritual side of what these things actually are. And check this guy's experience out. This is pretty interesting. He experienced one of them.
One was the egg. The other is what we called an 8-gon. The 8-gon was essentially a flying disc with what looked like 8 delineated sections when looking down. And I can tell you what it looked like from looking down because that's primarily how I saw it because I'm a helicopter pilot. We did recoveries with the 8-gons. There was more than one that made its way to the ground on this particular operation.
Simply seeing a non-human craft up close would be an intense experience in itself. But Barber says, as he prepared to transport that so-called 8-gon from the pickup site to the drop site, something even more intense happened to him that would change his life forever.
This is one of the most profound experiences I've ever had in my life I'm about to share with you, so bear with me. So as I get closer to this pick site, I start feeling odd. I start feeling extremely emotional. And the closer I get, the more the emotion starts to overwhelm me. I feel this intense hybrid of sadness and happiness and beauty and song. And it was very disruptive to me because I had a very practical responsibility at the time to operate a helicopter in the mountains at night. And I began wondering what was wrong with me. It was late. Am I distressed? Am I tired? And I don't know. But as I came over this object for the pick, it was this overwhelming sense of emotion.
Is it your feeling? Are you suddenly having a mental breakdown on the job?
No, I felt like something connected with me. I felt like something had tuned in to me and my soul and was providing me some sense of guidance on what to do and how profound what I was doing was. And it was so overwhelming that I began to cry. And then I'm confused as to why I'm crying at the same time. And then do I abort the mission? So I just did my best to focus on my particular cues when doing this type of work. And I got the load hooked up and I began flying away. And once it was just me and that object in between the pick and the drop site, there's about 20 miles in between, I felt like something was inside of me. I felt like I was possessed by the most beautiful spirit I'd ever been possessed by. And
was it loving?
It was loving. But there was a sense of sadness at the same time. And
had you ever had an experience like this before?
No, it was a very feminine energy, I'll tell you that. It felt like this.
That's interesting. Did you know that there were no female angels? Just throwing that out there. Did you know that? That's weird, isn't it?
Spirit of God, but not in any masculine sense.
In the beginning, I mean.
And it wasn't like a soul, it was like a frequency that I was connected with. And whatever that force was since that night, it has stayed with me.
It's energy, you know?
And as crazy as it sounds, it's what's guiding me now. And it's what's providing protection for me.
It's changed your life.
It's changed my life.
That's pretty crazy, right? So, it just makes me think how the devil can come as a, being of light, something good, something positive. In Childhood's End, that one from Robert Heinlein. They made a movie or a series on it over on Sci-Fi Network some years ago. Childhood's End. You should check that one out. I did a video on that one way back also. But that's another major predictive programmer right there. For decades, there have been many UFO whistleblowers with claims about alien technology, captured spacecraft, and even bodies, all very similar to the claims we see circulate today. Remember NASA mission specialist Bob Oshler? Here he is in 1993. All right, let's see what he says.
And I was quite alarmed at what
We are, in this report that we're now going to show, we're going to hear a conversation featuring you. Tell me the context of that conversation.
Well, I had contacted Admiral Bobby Ray Inman, who was the head of the National Security Agency in the United States, Deputy Director at CIA, Director of Naval Intelligence, and a variety of intelligence posts, a technologist, and clearly someone that, if this was really accurate, that there really were UFOs and non-human intelligence around, this is a man who had to know. Mm-hmm. So I was able to contact him thanks to a contact through Admiral Lord Hill Norton here in the UK. And this conversation, he alarmingly not only indicated that these issues were covered under national secrecy laws, but that the United States government did in fact have possession of the hardware associated with this. In other words, this was an actual physical phenomenon. As
a craft, a spaceship.
Several of them, and they were in operational condition, which I assume suggested that they had been in contact, that they had been given these craft for some reason or another, because they certainly weren't crashed vehicles.
Okay. Well, is there anyone out there? Sue Wheatfield reports.
could be true.
Do you anticipate that any of the recovered vehicles would ever become available for technological research outside of the military circles?
10 years ago, the answer would have been no.
Yeah.
Whether as time has evolved, they're beginning to become more open on it, is a possibility.
A short time later, Bob Exler received this call.
Mr. Exler, this is Tom King in Admiral Inman's office. Yes, you would be breaching confidence and/or violation of the secrecy laws in discussing his involvement in any matter.
I heard what you said earlier, but obviously the big problem always is the pictures are never conclusive.
The pictures, yes, are not conclusive, but when you get involved in an investigation and you find the extraordinary physical evidence left behind, and you talk to the witnesses, medical doctors, officials of governments and so forth, in one of the cases that we had just seen some video from, there was a Canadian official who was actually taken on board the craft. When you subject these areas of testimony to lie detectors, polygraph exams, using the kind of technology that we have to determine whether someone's actually telling the truth or not, the results become absolutely nothing short of alarming.
Okay, if these governments, the Canadian government, the American government, if they are in possession of spacecraft, if they have made contact with aliens, why don't they tell us?
What I was able to learn is that the issue of secrecy dates back into the early 1950s. And in 1959, actually, NASA had a study conducted by the Brookings Institution in Washington, D.C., addressing the issue of whether this alarming issue of a confrontation with an extraterrestrial culture should be released to the public, this information. It was determined that there would be grave consequences for just an overt public pronouncement by government officials.
Right.
So a determination...
What does that mean? We would all panic?
Well, not necessarily just panic, but the issues that it presented, not only theology, but issues involving economics, standards of monetary concerns. If you acknowledge type of technology that renders fossil fuel-related industries obsolete,
Yes.
for example, you have grave consequences economically all the way around the world.
Of course you do. All our values are rendered
so
useless and worthless then, yes.
The determination was made that the only way to avoid this chaos would be through a slow indoctrination process over a matter of decades.
What do we talk about all the time, man? That's totally what it is. Love it. It's just been a slow process, man. Stacking things on top. Movies, TV shows, sightings, all around the world, right?
Okay, well, Bob Exler, we'll talk...
Is that it?
In fact, no. In fact, NATO conducted a study in the 60s involving quite a number of these incidents. The decisions to maintain secrecy regarding this center more around not upsetting the economic apple cart, religion, theology issues that come into play, and quite a number of issues that essentially center around science and technology.
You're former NASA. What do your colleagues at NASA think of you? Do they think that you're a crackpot, or do they agree with you?
Oh, no, not at all. They know I'm not a crackpot, and they're quite fascinated and interested every time I go to the Goddard Space Flight Center facilities to do analysis that we conducted on their equipment there with permission. They're always quite interested to see what the results are, because we do, in fact, see some rather extraordinary technology.
I think
bet they do.
Most people now would agree that it would be supremely arrogant for us to think that we're the only life form.
That is just like the lamest and most boring answer, and we hear it all the time. I'll see people online, asking people if they believe in UFOs and aliens, and it's like almost every person's like, well, and they, coming off like they're real smart and they really thought this one out. I think it's kind of messed up to think that we're the only life form in this whole universe, right? It's always that same thing, man. And unfortunately, people who believe that lie, they've already got their hook in the jaw. The enemy's already got his hook in their jaw. They're ready to be pulled. People thinking like that, not realizing this is all a big demonic display. It's in the air, and it's also from the earth. And there's minions of the devil at work. And this is going to be, let me see if I can find it here. Show you something. Card game. UFO. So the Illuminati card game, if you never heard of that, you should check it out. It had a lot of stuff on there like this, like had Trump on there. Enough is enough, and that's even one of his slogans at one point. And on the card it says, at any time, at any place, our snipers can drop you, which is very interesting. So that's just one card. Okay, there's a bunch on here. I'm trying to see the UFO card, if they have it on here. Guess they don't. There's a UFO card also, which is interesting. It shows them flying over a church. It's from 1994. This guy got a copy of it. All right, I'm not seeing it. Anyway, yeah, there's a card. Oh, this is a good one, though. Remember this? Remember that mask? Look at that white face with a brown neck. I wouldn't even be surprised if that was Obama playing the role that day. But then you got this card here, imposter, and you see the white mask on darker skin. You see? So these are just a couple of the cards. If you can't tell already, this is a really incredible example of predictive programming, right? So anyway, the UFO card shows UFO discs flying over a church steeple, because that is going to be it's going to be a game changer. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, that hook's already in the jaw, if you know what I mean. This is still one of the most believable UFO testimonies in this person's opinion. Jesse Rostenberg from the United Kingdom. Check this out.
My two sons went to Cypher to school, and I was getting changed, and I heard this terrific noise. It was just like a giant cauldron of water being poured onto a fire, a shh sort of noise, you know. And my first reaction was, oh, the children. I thought maybe a plane was crashing or something like that. And I slipped my jumper on and went outside to find my two sons lying flat on the ground in the garden in front of the house, shouting, "Mummy, Mummy, there's a flying saucer." Well, naturally, I just said, "Come on, don't be stupid. Come in the house." But felt sort of a strange sensation. Wended my way up the side of the house to where we had a pump where we used to get all our water from, and automatically looked up to see this, all I can describe, this huge Mexican hat. It was stationary, this thing, and it was bright silver in colour, and it had a dome. It was tilted to sort of, I could see the occupants in it.
You saw people in it?
I saw people in it. There were two people in there. These people were beautiful people. That's the only way I can describe them.
All whites, perhaps?
They had long golden hair, like a page boy bob, just like the old kings. You used to see photographs of the old kings. And the colour of the hair was golden. Now, I was really...
What were they dressed in?
They had a sort of a polo-neck jumper affair, like a ski top suit, in pale blue. Now, these people weren't sat one behind the other. They were sat together, but this, whatever it was tilted so that I could see them and they could see me.
Were you looking at them through windows, through portholes? Or
no, not portholes. It was just sort of like a cockpit, I suppose. But had this perspex or glass or whatever it was. They could see me anyway, and I could see them. And they had beautiful faces. I shall never forget their faces as long as I live. Their foreheads seemed to be a bit larger than, you know, the bottom of their faces as normal people you would expect to see. But maybe this was just whatever they had round their heads, which was like a transparent fishbowl. And they just looked. And I was absolutely paralytic with fear. I couldn't move, although my mind was ticking over. And they looked so sympathetic that I was just mesmerized for what seemed to be, ages, but it could have only been seconds. And I turned to sort of look down at the boys, was unaware that they were with me because I was so absorbed. And the next thing, I looked up and it was gone.
How low had it been?
It had been, the height, I couldn't tell you. But the house that you've seen, it was just on top of the roof. It was hovering on top.
Let me see if there's some more here.
But then I knew I hadn't had, because my sons were so sure about what they'd seen and what I'd seen. And it went through my mind that it was a secret weapon from Russia. And then I thought, well, it can't be that, because if they had something like that, they wouldn't need to fear anybody or anything.
Were you scared by it? Did you run indoors?
Oh, I was petrified. I couldn't move. I couldn't move a muscle. I was paralyzed with fear. But now I wouldn't be. Because now, when I look back, you know, I think, what an amazing thing to have happened, and for me to have seen it.
I mean, it sounds like she met the tall whites, right? I mean, to me it does, and that's just one of the forms, I believe, just one of the forms these things take. There's always the Elohim angle on what they look like, but that's a whole other story. But yeah, I think that's a good one. Jessie Rostenberg, it sounds like she met the tall whites, which is a trip. How about you? Have you ever had UFO experiences live? Have you guys ever seen a UFO, had an experience? I've had two. Somebody asked me recently about it, and I've had two of them. And, oh, hey, thank you, Jordan. Wanted to show some support. What do you think of the 3 days of darkness? God bless you and everyone in chat. Thank you. I don't know, man. I've had a lot of thoughts about that, especially with all the volcano activity and stuff here lately. You know, I'm just wondering how, like, what will be the excuse, you know, when it happens. So I've thought about that. I've thought about wormwood, you know, like a big object, celestial objects hitting the earth and killing a third of everything. And that would cause, like, such a, you know, so much debris, I guess you could say, like up into the air, that maybe something like hitting the earth would cause it for 3 days. You know what I mean? So I've wondered about it. I'm not sure. But thank you. Appreciate you. This is a real good one because, yeah, this is a good reminder that a lot of the time we're dealing with interdimensional shapeshifters, demons, demonic beings. And this is a really good shot from back when we had the Jersey drone situation going. Somebody actually filmed one of these orbs changing into a drone. So check it out. Look at that. Big ball of weird energy. Demonic energy. So it's just an orb now, right? Clearly. But watch. These are shapeshifters. A lot of these things.
That's Autonomy's co-founder and CEO, Tim Hoover. For the last 40 years, the Ag Information Network has been the source of news for farmers and ranchers.
All right. Now it's going to start. Now, see, look. Oh, look, it's got running lights all of a sudden. Where did those come from? It's pretty weird how these things can manifest, that kind of how they can just shift. So now it's got running lights. What could it be? Oh, look, now it's got a little red light beeping. Because they've got, you know, usually the red and the green lights for port and starboard, or left and right. And if you're on a boat, it's fore and aft. I was on a boat for a couple years. Look at it now. It even has a sound like it's an airplane. Did you notice that? Check it out. You can hear the shift and even the sound. So right here, there's nothing. Right? Now we got the lights popping. Now you get an airplane sound. Unless there's an airplane flying by we don't see. So maybe that might be it too. But I wouldn't be surprised if these things can create sound too, like that. But now look, it's starting to look more like a ship, isn't it? Big time. So I'll show you, this guy's still here recording. Hopefully I can see it again. There it is. Alright, so now we had it at the very end there. Okay, so now look at that. Look at that. Look what it looks like now. It's like kind of like a ship or something, but look what it started off as. So now we know. It's just a good example. I'm glad to have examples because I talk about it all the time. But yeah, some of these things are shapeshifters. Look at that. And look at that. Crazy. Good catch, though, from whoever recorded that. I appreciate it very much. Glowing orb, another one transforming into a drone, or is this the same one? I think, yeah, this is the same one. My bad. All right. But I'm glad people are hip to it. It's an important part to remember. Always remember to point your fingers at the real enemy, which is the devil. You know, we're in his flesh system, and he runs this joint, and he is a real stinker. And him and his demons are always on the lookout for who they can snatch, steal, kill, destroy. So I always try to keep my finger on the real bad guy, not to it's the white people, it's the black people, it's the browns, no, man. I mean, no. The beast has many tentacles, and they all come out in different ways, right? Like poisoning water, or turning this group against that group, or all of it, right? Says, for those who still don't know what blue beam is, here's a full explanation. It's a good one. It's good to know.
Project Bluebeam. Mm-hmm. Can you describe what that is?
It's the ability to stage, through very advanced technologies, an alien attack or an alien event. And it's a whole series of them. Now, what most people don't know about, since late 50s, early 60s, like the Barney Hill case and all that, those were all human assets abducting innocent people made to look alien. And so that psychological warfare was authorized in 1953, 54. 1954, we mastered gravity control. So we started deploying these assets to begin to condition the public that there's a scary threat from outer space. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at Hollywood, Alien, Ridley Scott's the movies. If you want to see a script for what's coming fairly soon, look at the movie Independence Day. Okay. It's right at a central casting for this covert group. So what their whole purpose is to create sort of a global militarized totalitarian superstate of the world fighting another world. It's like War of the Worlds. Okay. And that's been a 70-year defense.
Right. Just, I don't know exactly how that's going to play out. I'm always thinking about it, though, about what it's going to look like, how it's going to play. It'll be interesting. Project Bluebeam planned to stage a fake alien invasion from William Cooper. Explores government documents that outline a plan to stage a fake alien invasion. Love it. Big fan of William Cooper. He is a big part of my path on all this stuff. I got a hold of his book when I was still living in Los Angeles, Behold a Pale Horse. It was one of the first so-called conspiracy books I ever read, and became a fan, back then. And then it's the kind of a digital age, right, in a lot of ways. So I've gone and found throughout the years so many. He had a radio show, for one. You can go back and listen to his old radio show. I think it's called Time of the Hour or something. Anyway, let's go ahead and check some of this out. This will be good. Oh boy.
Arranging the information that had come in over the last 24 hours into a logical order so that we could prepare a briefing for the Admiral and his staff, which would take place later that morning. Among the papers I found on my desk was a document entitled Operation Majority, and it was not the entire paperwork involving this operation, but was merely a synopsis of the operation and projects contained under it. One of these projects was called Project Red Light. The purpose, according to this document, was to back engineer captured extraterrestrial technology for adaptation into the United States space program. Now, I have since come to believe that the extraterrestrial portion of all of this is nonsense, but that the technology is real.
So that's where I part, with Bill Gates on some things, or not Bill Gates. Well, of course, I part on pretty much everything with Bill Gates. But with Bill Cooper on this one, I part. Although he was living in a different time, things are different now. But either way, I believe, many of us here believe, that we are dealing with real interdimensional beings on top of, Psy-Op, government Psy-Op stuff.
I believe that many of us were shown these documents over the years so that later we would talk about it. I mean, how can you keep the existence of extraterrestrials, if they were real, a secret? And how could anyone keep quiet knowing that they had seen documentation, official government documents labeled top secret, that expressed that these extraterrestrials were real and had visited this Earth? I wanted to know just how true all of this was, and I began a program of research to find out if extraterrestrials were real.
That'd be a cool sighting.
The first thing I did was collect every bit of documentation that I could find, both from the Freedom of Information Act, from the research of others, from books that had been printed on the subject of UFOs, and of course through my network of friends in the intelligence community. What I discovered was amazing. What I discovered, ladies and gentlemen, is that there has been a plan in existence since about 1917, and probably before that, to create an artificial extraterrestrial threat to this Earth in order to create a one-world totalitarian socialist government. One of the first documents that I found in my search was this one. The Imperial Japanese Mission 1917, a record of the reception throughout the United States of the special mission headed by Viscount Ishii. And when the Imperial Japanese Mission was in New York City, they had a dinner, and some pretty famous people spoke at this dinner. One of them was John Dewey. John Dewey is the father of our failing, disastrous public education system. Here's what he said. Listen very carefully. John Dewey, professor of philosophy in Columbia University, who was the next speaker, was listened to with great intentness. He said, quote, "Someone remarked that the best way to unite all the nations on this globe would be an attack from some other planet. In the face of such an alien enemy, people would respond with a sense of their unity of interest and purpose." Unquote. Now, bear in mind, folks, that's 1917.
Wow.
One of the next documents that I found, and I found quite a few, but one that's pretty important, is called a report from Iron Mountain, the probability and desirability of permanent peace. Now, I encourage you to find this book wherever you can find it. I don't know where you can get it, but find it. Page 66. Credibility, in fact, lies at the heart of the problem of developing a political substitute for war. This is where the space race proposals, in many ways so well suited as economic substitutes for war, fall short. The most ambitious and unrealistic space project cannot of itself generate a believable external menace. It has been hotly argued that such a menace would offer the last best hope of peace, etc., by uniting mankind against the danger of destruction by creatures from other planets or from outer space. Experiments have been proposed to test the credibility of an out-of-our-world invasion threat. And it continues on another page. Nevertheless, an effective political substitute for war would require alternate enemies, some of which might seem equally far-fetched in the context of the current war system. It may be, for instance, that gross pollution of the environment can eventually replace the possibility of mass destruction by nuclear weapons as the principal substitute for war. Are you beginning to get the message, folks? Poisoning of the air and of the principal sources of food and water supply is already well advanced, and at first glance would seem promising in this respect. It constitutes a threat that can be dealt with only through social organization and political power. but from present indications it will be a generation to a generation and a half before environmental pollution, however severe, will be sufficiently menacing on a global scale to offer a possible basis for a solution. However unlikely some of the possible alternate enemies we have mentioned may seem, we must emphasize that one must be found of credible quality and magnitude if a transition to peace is ever to come about without social disintegration. It is more probable, in our judgment, that such a threat will have to be invented rather than developed from unknown conditions. Ladies and gentlemen, they have created so many alternate enemies in order to bring about their one-world totalitarian socialist state that we don't know which enemy to believe is real or is false, or whether to just toss them all out on their ears. And I think that that is probably going to be the best solution. Disarmament is no accident. All of these bills in Congress to take away our weapons is no accident. The intentional environmental pollution of our lakes, rivers, streams, oceans, forests, everything is no accident, as you just heard. These things were planned many years ago. All the bombardment of the public with movies about flying saucers in the 50s, right after the United Nations Treaty was signed in the UN.
Think about that, too, right when they made television, right when they introduced that to the public. And I've mentioned that before, too. Back in the day, like tons of sci-fi, right? All these UFO movies and TV shows, mostly TV shows.
Participation Act was pushed through Congress, and all of the incidents since that have convinced the majority of the American people that flying saucers are real and extraterrestrials exist, and that flying saucers are from an extraterrestrial origin. This is being promulgated in many ways, by television commercials, in the movies, in the newspapers, by creating incidents either real or imagined.
Yep.
I believe, because of my research, and because of the extensive documentation that I've found and that is in my book, that this whole scenario has been created to give us an artificial alien threat from outer space. During the Reagan administration, he made 6 speeches, specifically talked about a threat from outer space by some other species from some other planet. 6, ladies and gentlemen. Why would the president repeat the same thing 6 times, tagged on to the ends of speeches by him? The speechwriters did not put that in the speech. Ronald Reagan added it himself.
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This was a powerful suggestion to implant into the minds of the people of the world that there really is a threat from some other species, from some other planet to this Earth. Now, you people out there have been ignoring the UFO phenomenon for too long. It has all the earmarks of the most successful, most sophisticated mind control operation in the history of the world, and you are ignoring it. What better way to implement a plan to bring about a one-world government than to create the possibility in the minds of the people of the world that we are being threatened from some other species, from some other planet, and do it in a way that if anybody questions it or challenged it or wants to talk about it publicly, that they are ridiculed.
And the ultimate goal is to make the Earth look very small, to present the people of the world with an external threat to this Earth, a superior race from some other planet, vastly superior to us in intellect, philosophy, and technology, in order to cause the dissolution of nation-states, the dissolution of all existing religions, and the formation of the world totalitarian socialist government.
All right, we're going to stop there. Wow, he'd be like in his early 80s if he was still alive now. That'd be a trip. Well, he's a lot older than Alex Jones. I didn't realize he was that much older than AJ. Check this out.
Project for humanity
Yeah, good one.
What is that?
Wait, do we see him?
That's lasers, right?
We didn't see this earlier, did we? This one yet? Let me know in the live chat if we did. I don't think we did, but I'm not sure. I thought maybe.
Yeah, I can actually talk about that one, but that is it's really bad. But you know the people that see orbs in the sky.
Yeah,
thank you guys.
Go around that fly faster.
UFOs.
UFOs.
Yeah, there's Navy pilots. There's multiple Navy pilots who talk about. They got their they were flying F-18s. These Navy pilots, and one of them's coming in here in 2 weeks. He's Ryan Graves.
Okay.
He's a Navy pilot flying off the coast of North Carolina, and they got their radar upgraded on their F-18s, and all of a sudden they were seeing these things darting around on their radar.
Okay. Don't tell him what I'm about to say and see if he knows about it.
Okay.
So what we do is we play with our own forces, make sure our trickery will work on the enemy. And those are directed energy weapons of where we do intersecting beams or focus beams.
Did y'all see what happened? I showed you last week in Vegas to all the light posts. Mostly is like a lot of light posts, I think. How they were just, all of them cracked maybe 1 foot up from the ground and just bent over in the street. Tons of them. You guys seen that? Anyway, I was thinking someone might be drinking that Mountain Dew.
Into the atmosphere, and notice they're always in the...
I wonder if there's a 15-minute city planned there.
Atmosphere to excite the electron orbitals of the oxygen and nitrogen in our atmosphere. It causes a glow and it causes ionization. That ionization shows up on radar and it's like a cat laser pointer, and we're making planes chase them.
That's exactly how they describe these things moving, like laser pointers.
Yeah, and so we can do it in 3 space. We can make it look like...
in 3-dimensional space.
Yeah, and we can make it look like an entire fleet is about to drop bombs on, let's say, Europe, and then just have them disappear. And they get all their planes up in the air, and we attack them from the other direction, assuming we're attacking Europe.
Who is doing this? The Navy, you said?
Somebody. Let's just say a group. A group, you know.
And you know this for a fact?
I know it for a fact, yeah. So anyway, don't tell your guests.
A group within the U.S. government.
Yeah, okay, we'll leave it at that. Yes.
And is this something that could be seen with the naked eye? Or
yes,
is this something
because
that
it glows. It glows. So it would be seeable. You can see it by the naked eye, and it would leave a radar trace. So it's perfect as a deception. And it involves the voice of God weapons that I was talking about.
Project Bluebeam.
And this got leaked. So it probably won't have the effect, and they probably won't do it. But if you wanted to bring the world together, as President Reagan said in several UN speeches, you would have a common enemy like evil aliens attacking. We forget our differences and we fight against it.
So we wouldn't look at each other as Chinese or Russian or American. We'd look at each other as Earthlings.
It's humans. Yeah, as Earthlings. And so that was Project Bluebeam, was to trick the human race into believing either God is coming down, everybody hears the voice of God, the microwave hearing effect, get along, whatever the new message is. Or it was going to be the evil aliens attacking. And notice how they, all of a sudden, all the governments release all their information on UFOs, and there's a whole division dedicated. And that's just deception.
Yep.
It's just
you think it's all deception?
I think it's all deception, yeah. But, that's my opinion. I've looked at all the videotapes and that people have given me, and I can explain away each one of them.
So apparently, but there's apparently lots of footage and videos and photos that have not been released to the public.
Yeah, I haven't seen those.
All right, I'll go and move on. Interesting, though, we're seeing a lot of common themes and talk around Bluebeam. And certainly we're in a time where we could see it. I could see it happening. Couldn't you? With all the chaos in the world right now. This guy's really cool. John D'Souza, there's a really good clip of him out on how he's talking about Obama and how Obama rose through the ranks It's really, really good. John D'Souza, former FBI special agent, and here he's talking about Bluebeam.
I tell people is that when Project Bluebeam is used, again, it's not going to be by the United States. It's not going to be by national. It's going to be by global government. They're the ones who are going to use this stuff. And it's going to be not just a bunch of pretty holograms. They're going to be using it for religious figures. They're going to have Jesus in the sky, but it's not just going to be holograms. There's going to be voice-to-skull technology. It's also going to be used. They're going to be able to have these figures speak to every human being on the planet. Imagine the impact of that they're going to be able to see the figure and also hear the figure talking to them. It's amazing. I think that is the particular reason why Jesus said in the Bible, my sheep hear my voice and they will recognize my voice. And I think that was an anticipation of when this operation goes forward. And it's going to go forward in conjunction also with the great fake alien invasion. It's going to go forward with that. And who knows, it's going to be also a sweetener. It's going to be, instead of, we're going to have, maybe 10 or 20 UAPs that have incredible destructive capacity against our cities. But then with Project Bluebeam, they can make those appear like 200 or 300 or 400 UAPs. See, that's what they can do. And also these holograms, we call them holograms because that's the word that we know. But they're going to probably have the capacity for noise, for sound, for solidity, temporary solidity as well. And then you can say, well, but then that's not a hologram. Well, yeah, it's probably going to be something that is several steps above a hologram as well. So these are the things that we're facing. And these things are going to be faced all at once. That's the reason why
Good stuff. John D'Souza. I need to look him up and watch some more of his clips again. It's been a while. But yeah, he had a great one on a great speech on Obama. You should look that up. John D'Souza, Obama. Best breakdown of Project Bluebeam this person's ever seen. Let's check this out.
He discovered that NASA and a few intelligence agencies developed the technology to project 3D holographic images into the sky. I say into because the system uses a combination of satellites and ground-based systems to manipulate the ionosphere. You don't need a screen. Images can be projected onto the particles in the atmosphere. The projections will appear so lifelike that people will believe they are witnessing a miracle. The dominant god of each region will appear in the sky. Imagine looking up and seeing Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, all speaking to their followers in their own language. Their god will tell them their beliefs are all wrong, then will slowly morph into a new god. This is the first appearance of the new Messiah, God of the New World Order.
The projections of Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Krishna will merge into one, and explanations of mysteries and revelations will be disclosed. This one God will, in fact, be the Antichrist, who will explain that the various scriptures have been misunderstood and misinterpreted, and that the religions of old are responsible for turning brother against brother and nation against nation. Therefore, old religions must be abolished to make way for the new age, new world religion, representing the one God Antichrist they see before them.
Debunking old religions will be enough to convert some people to this new one. Giant deities appearing and then converging into one Antichrist will convert a lot more. But these technologies won't work on everybody. Non-religious people will be terrified for sure, but they won't suddenly believe in a god based on a hologram, no matter how real it looks. The Shadow Masters know that. The Shadow Masters know that to create a one-world government and single religion, they need 100% of the population to believe. But you can't force a religious belief on somebody. They need to make the decision themselves, or at least be convinced they made it. The elites know this. That brings us to step 3. If you're not convinced by what you see, they'll use technology to broadcast the message directly into your brain. You may not realize it, but this technology is being used on you right now. When the new God appears in step 2, you'll hear him speaking whether you believe in him or not. And you won't be able to escape his voice because you're not hearing it through your ears. His voice is coming from your mind. The third step of Project Bluebeam is mind control. They'll use electromagnetic waves to interfere with brain function. They can shape perceptions, create emotions, and influence beliefs.
The third step in the Bluebeam project uses electronically augmented two-way communication, where ELF, VLF, and LF waves will reach each person from within his or her own mind, convincing each of them that their own God is speaking to them from the very depths of their own soul. Such rays from satellites are fed from the memories of computers that have stored massive data.
And think of AI now, man, how powerful it's getting and how the role it can play in this. And I've wondered before if that'll be what happens, that Elon helps to bring out the AI God, and then the fleshly Antichrist, this is in the future, will somehow merge with that AI Antichrist, and then perhaps through the frequencies and then the black goo. Man, I got a really cool story on black goo. I'm going to put it in this new video. It's pretty crazy. You know what I'm saying? So then on that way, these people, everybody will be hooked up into the AI once they take that horrible mark, if they do. And then that'll be that 24/7 worship, you know, constantly connected to this Antichrist AI God.
About every human on Earth and their languages. The rays will then interlace with their natural thinking to form what we call diffuse artificial thought. That kind of technology goes into the 1970s, 1980s, and 1990s research, where the human brain has been compared to a computer. Information is fed in, processed, integrated, and then a response is formulated and acted upon.
We know for a fact that the U.S. military and intelligence have experimented with mind control. We know they used sound waves in the Vietnam War to make the enemy anxious without...
Good one. All right, I'll stop there. It's almost done. Good stuff. Also, I just want to shout you guys out. We got an awesome crowd. We're 2 hours into the show. Still got clips to go. Well over 700 people, man. Thank you all so much for sharing your precious time with me, man. I always mean that. I appreciate you. And for those that listen later, shout out to Tamara. Thanks for all your work. Good to see everybody. Sorry if I missed some people. I try to say hi and chat here and there. And shout out to the supporters, man. Subscribe to our family. Rumble Wells. PayPal people, or even P.O. Box. Thank you. Whatever it is, I appreciate it very much. So thanks for being here, man. You guys are awesome. If you think that Project Bluebeam sounds outrageous and technologically impossible, here's a recent example of it at Madison Square Garden. Yeah, I want to leave the music down, but I've been finding a lot of these too. Now, what I don't know is, what I'm trying to figure out is this. Are the people actually seeing this, or is it just a filter through their phone? Because it looks like, I'm trying to see if everyone's got their phones up, but it doesn't look like everybody did. Like, this guy's just looking at it. Okay, so see, I guess they can see it. Because there were some holograms early on. They had some in Japan years ago that were just amazing like this, but you had to look through your phone to see it. Do you remember that? But it looks like some people are just recording it. It looks like a lot of people are just, you can see, look at the crowd. Look at them. A lot of them are just looking up at it. So no, not everybody's recording. That's really incredible. Look at that. And there's people down there just looking up, not holding phones. So that's a game changer. Look at that, man. If they can make that kind of stuff appear around you, look, it's incredible. But we get the point. You know, they have that technology. They've had the technology. And it'll be used to good effect, unfortunately. This is one of the cooler... There's other videos, too, of this one. This is in Canada, I believe. This guy says it's... Or whoever says it's a blue beam. I don't know if it's blue beam or not, because we do have those shapeshifters up there. But this was a really cool capture. Imagine that, just floating above your head. Like, what the... Yeah, it was... Look at that. Yeah, this is the same one I was thinking of. It's in Canada. Just going crazy up there. Look at that. So I don't know if that's blue beam, or if, I would think that's probably the interdimensionals fooling around. The shapeshifters. But that's me. Maybe it is blue beam. I don't know. The cross and the moon in the sky. This is just a cool one. I like this.
It is June the 10th, and look at this in the sky. So I was out here last night, and I caught something unexplainable. It was definitely something in front of the moon, and I come out here tonight, and look at this. That looks like it's a cross in the sky. So I'm going to zoom in upon it, and look at that. Look at that. It looks like, I don't know, this is unexplainable, but it's very beautiful. So it looks like an opening or a cloud behind the clouds. Now, right here, look, I want y'all to understand that is definitely a cross. This is not a filter. It is 3:26 in the morning. I just wanted to come out here and see what I could record. And wow, that's a cross. Hold on. In the sky, as you can see, this is not a filter.
That's so cool.
That is beautiful.
That is beautiful.
Signs in the sky.
Beautiful, man. What a blessing. For real, man. That guy just got, what an amazing blessing that was. Love it. Love it when he talks to us like that, you know. This is, for some reason, somebody put Richie from Boston documentary where this is all Zendrius. Zendrius is a legend. He's OG YouTube. I got a lot of love for the guy. We used to comment or communicate a little more on YouTube. I don't think he's on there as much anymore. But he's another OG that I came up with in the kind of Christian truther realm, if you want to call it that. Really amazing guy. But I'm going to go and move on from this because I went to his channel, Zendrius' channel, and actually pulled up one of his classics, which is all about UFOs being demons. It's a good one. So we'll check some of that out in a bit. Here's a new Netflix series that this person says is outlining Project Bluebeam and hinted at a supposed alien invasion. And I'll keep the music down on this. I'll play it. New Netflix movie. I'm not sure what it's called. You guys recognize this? But look at that. See, that could be a blue beamy type thing, I could imagine. I imagine at this point they could do about anything they want with it. And now they have AI. So this is all scenes from the movie. I don't think it's the same one, but there's a movie called, I think it's called Another Earth. And it's about another Earth coming in to our solar system. And then people finding out, it gets real close to Earth, to our Earth. And then people find out that there's doubles of everybody on this other Earth, I think. That's the right one I'm thinking of. But yeah, I could see this as being some blue beam. Some blue beam. The aliens are going to give us hope. They're going to make everything better. There was a really good dream video that's out there from a lady. It was a mother, and she's talking about her 10-year-old, or her son. When he was 10 years old, he had a dream. And he had had prophetic dreams before, even about his own family members. But he'd had this dream about the rapture happening. And then he said, then the aliens come down and there's war. He says that the people on Earth go to war with these UFOs. There's a lot more to it than that. It was pretty good. And here's another example. This was from This is from an album release from a rapper, and I put this in a video a while back. They actually did this down in New York City. Look at that. Did you see the person coming down on the beam of light?
Back to the world, yo!
It's weird, right? Weird. Weird stuff. But we know. It's all getting people ready for the big show. And here's, now you know what? I was so happy to see this from a channel called Flat Out Truth. Says, are they starting Project Bluebeam? some of y'all know who followed me for a while, just over the last several months, I finally concluded that this has to be a Project Bluebeam. I believe it is. And I've been calling them the ghost lights. We've been seeing examples of these on Mavi UFO Alarm YouTube channel for years. And they're all over the world. And they always do different things. Sometimes they synchronize, they dance in the sky, they spin in circles. And sometimes they do this. But yeah, I do believe, and I'm glad someone else is seeing it now too, that we're looking at some blue beam technology here. Probably a satellite type situation, and they can shoot this stuff down on top of the clouds and then trip people out. Because it's always on clouds. This particular, the ghost lights, it's always on the clouds. I don't know if they're, there we go. And they're back. So see, now they're doing this. Somebody up there pushing a controller, or somebody here on Earth pressing a couple buttons. Who knows how that works exactly. But see how they do? What is that? He said. What's going on?
Bro, watch out. Oh my God, bro, watch. Oh my God.
See? He's going to tell everybody about this. So even if they weren't there to see it, they kind of get to see it. You know, it just implants more of that in people's minds. Oh, the aliens. Oh, the UFOs. Oh, they're real. Oh, they're coming. Oh, yeah, Jeremy saw some. Oh, my sister Karen saw one. You know, whatever it is. Little stinkers. It's all a deception, right? This is all just... They put this out all around the world. What the... We've seen these all around the world. Same anomaly, same type of UFO.
Oh my God, bro, watch.
Alright, so we're going to move on. The ghost lights. We call them around here. At least I do.
Told you Project Bluebeam isn't just some cute little sci-fi spectacle to keep us entertained. No, the real purpose goes way deeper, and it's darker than anyone imagines. It's about advanced tech, black budget projects, and holograms indistinguishable from real life. Imagine this. The world starts seeing signs in the sky, miraculous events, symbols, even full-on visitations. And it's all so lifelike, so precise, that people can't tell it's fake. They're mesmerized, convinced that they're witnessing something divine or terrifying. And that's when the real agenda kicks in. Because think about it. If you control the sky, you control the narrative. You could make people believe in a new boogeyman, some threat they can't escape from, or rally them all under a new messiah-like figure.
That's right, bruh. You know, I've seen two UFOs. One was in Los Angeles, and then as I looked up, I saw it, and it just disappeared. But it looked like multiple colors, and like it's spinning around, and then it just went away. I was like, whoa. I was in traffic, like not even moving, so I was looking around at other people to see if they saw it. I didn't see anybody looking up, but the really cool one was, I had moved back, let me see. This is after I'd been in Austin, Texas. I came back to Oklahoma. My dad was ill at the time. He's better now. He made it through, but he was having a rough time. So, and I hadn't really lived around home for a long time. So I came back, stayed for a while, and that's when I ended up moving to Costa Rica. So I stayed here. Dad got better, and then I was out, you know. So I moved to Central America from there. But when I'd come back here from Texas, I didn't really settle anywhere. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, so I was just kind of looking for temporary housing. So I ended up moving into a house in a college town out here in Norman, Oklahoma. I moved into a house with a couple of college students, a guy and a girl. I was older than them at the time. But anyway, I moved in there before, I eventually, from there, it's the last place I lived before I moved to Costa Rica. And we had good times, man. It was actually a lot of fun. They had a lot of friends, so they'd have huge parties at our house. we had a lot of space in the backyard, and the guy had a couple of pit bulls, so we had pit bulls over there. And anyway, it was kind of a fun party house. Like I said, even though I was older, you know, when in Rome, right? No, but anyway, had some really good times with him. It was fun. But then, you know, I just knew it was temporary. I needed to get out of there. Eventually I left. Long story short, one night they were gone, or they were gone for like a weekend. They'd go stay with family and stuff. And I'd watch the house, watch the dogs. I was watching one of the dogs one night, and she got out. I can't remember how she got out. Maybe she jumped the fence or something, but somehow the dog got out. So I had to run through the neighborhood and try to find her. So I'm running through this neighborhood in this college town in Oklahoma, and it's pretty quiet. It's probably about 10 o'clock at night, you know. Walking through the neighborhood, kind of hollering for the dog here and there. And then all of a sudden, man, I looked up through the trees because I noticed it was real bright. Like there's a lot of bright light. And I thought maybe it was the moon. I was like, something's really bright. So I just looked up there. And just as I looked up through the trees, it was just on the other side of the trees, it looked like there was maybe not even that high up. I mean, like maybe 100 feet in the air. You know, I was kind of under the tree, so I was looking up. Maybe 100 feet in the air or so, maybe less. But just as I looked up, it looked like a super bright doorway. A perfect doorway, and just as I looked up, from the bottom up, it just went up and disappeared. So, I mean, I'm not even kidding, man. Like, I ran around the tree, trying to find it. Eventually, I found the dog, took her back, ran out in the backyard, still looking around, trying to see it again. You know, just trying to make sure I saw what I saw. But it was weird, man. So that's the two UFOs I've seen. I don't know if you guys... Feel free to share your stories. Here's this right here. I like this guy. I think his name is Juan. I don't know his last name, but he kind of is the master. He created this type of a short form video with a lot of information. It's cool. Yeah, his name's Juan, Juan Barrera or something, I think. But I like him. I've been following, you know, I need to find his channel. But I'm always seeing other people uploading his clips. They're really good. I like it because he's a young guy. He's a Gen Z, and a lot of the information he's putting out is stuff we know and have been putting out for years, but he's putting it in a whole new package for young people. And I love that. I care about the young people, and because they are the most programmed generations in history, you know. So anyway, enough about that. Since Project Blue Beam is trending, this video comes to mind. Check this out.
If that something is real, then it is real in its effects.
In terms of the social reality.
In terms of the social reality, in terms of what people act according to their beliefs.
Yeah.
And that opens a question of, really at two levels, perhaps something that we are creating ourselves, perhaps a series of images that we are projecting. I think Carl Jung came very close to expressing that idea in one of his books. Or could it be manipulated purposely by people who have the technology to simulate UFO sightings? And people say, well, of course not. Who would do a thing like that? Well, I would remind you that during the Watergate investigation, it was discovered that there was a plan originated in the White House to surface a submarine off the coast of Cuba and paint the second coming of Christ over the island of Cuba using holograms. which is well within our technology today. The idea was that since there is a large Catholic population in Cuba, they would be so upset by this vision that this would saturate the communication channels, the telephone system in Cuba, long enough for an invasion to take place.
How interesting. I never heard of that.
Well, I think that's a classic in psychological warfare, but that kind of manipulation is well understood, and I have personally investigated several apparently genuine UFO cases where there was, in fact, a manipulation. My conclusion, the conclusion of scientists working with me, was that there was, in fact, a manipulation taking place, and that it was not a hoax on the part of the witnesses, but a hoax on the part of somebody much better organized than.
So there are possibly all of these levels going on simultaneously.
Today, today, with the current technology that we.
Right? Isn't that crazy? So just think look at this old clip. So way back then, man, they had the technology to create a hologram, as he was saying, as some kind of a religious figure. I wish I knew what year this was from, but just goes to show you. A lot of people have been knowing about this and talking about it for a long time. This is really cool. Somebody threw blue beam on this, I'm not sure, but it's looks like a massive portal. Check this out.
Man. Hey, stop playing, man. What the fuck that is, man?
That's another dimension right there.
Another dimension, yeah.
I probably go through that and see all my past stuff.
What the fuck is that, man? Hey, that's a meteor. That bitch. Oh, man, boy, that's a meteor, boy.
You don't know what no fucking meteor is, man. That's a meteor. I'm laughing at you, dog. I don't even know what a fucking meteor is. But boy, you sounded, that shit sounded good when you said it, brother.
Bro, what the fuck?
Yeah, that been. Yeah, that been was scorching.
Here we go. Probably better without the audio. But that's a trip. Look at that. Little black cloud right there in the kind of in the center. It's amazing. That ain't normal. That's for sure. I'd say. What am I looking at here? Blink, blink, blunk. Let me jump over one more. Still coming to that Zendrius video. Thanks, JB. I'll tell Chubbs. I appreciate it. And also, man, Tim Mahurin. Man, thank you too. Very kind, my friends. Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Oh, here we go. I want to play some of these. Something else to remember when it comes to all this, UFOs and aliens and all this. Also, another really crazy anomaly we've had for well over 10 years now is the trumpet sounds in the skies and other strange sounds. But I want to play some of these of the trumpets people have heard recently. Oops, sorry. Still working on fixing this setup I've got, man. My mic always falls over. One thing I thought too, though, is most of these are trumpets we're going to listen to, but sometimes there are other weird sounds and scary sounds. I wonder if, maybe the trumpets are really coming from our Heavenly Father, but then the enemy is trying to throw in this other stuff. Maybe when the UFO Psy-Op plays out, they'll mention the sounds in the sky or something. I don't know.
This? What the heck? I don't think that's coming from the warehouse. That's really weird. And that's dirt bikers down there. That's not what we were hearing. Oh my Ooh, there it is again. What is this?
Like a fart.
Yeah.
Can you get my phone?
Oh, is it under the...
See what I mean? Like sometimes they're kind of scary. That sounds like a horn getting tuned up. Trumpet. Good one. A lot of them sound like shofars also. I got a few more here. The trumpets. It's in Brazil. Pretty wild. Yeah, it's, you know, you decide. Some of these, and these are just a couple. There's so many you can go find, but a lot of them do sound like trumpets. Is that, you know, a sign from the heavens, or is that, you think the enemy messing with people? What do you think? Okay, so there's that. I think I just get a couple more. I did a video on these like back in 2012. Man, I've been interested in these for a long time. Here's another one right here. Check this out.
It's me, Andrew, Josh. Do you hear that? It's me. What's that? Can you hear that noise?
This sounds like a trumpet.
What is that? Sound. What? It's coming from the sky. You sure that? Yeah. Sounds like a trumpet, Doug. What's that? It's so scary. Is that a trumpet or? Sounds like one, but guys, come here, Andrew.
It's a common thing. A lot of people get, weird vibes from these sounds. Not a good feeling, Well, I mean, also, if it is a warning of what's about to come, then it makes sense. It's like a warning that it's all about to go down, What's causing these weird sky sounds in different places? Let's check this one out.
Dozens and hundreds of people in different countries, from the US to Mexico to Ireland and now Canada. There has to be a cause, but what that is, we don't know. Take a look at this footage and tell me what you think.
It's a good one. Thanks, Myra Moore. And moving on. I think we're almost through the trumpets I wanted to share. Here's a few more.
To note that
seen mainstream articles trying to report all, poo-poo this stuff away like it's nothing, but there's something there. Okay, so here we are in Zendrius. Looks like he reposted some of these. Obviously not aliens or physical spaceships. He's probably clipping a few of his old videos, but Zendrius, Xendrius, awesome, amazing, old school Christian YouTuber, Christian truther YouTuber, however you want. I don't like titles either, but just trying to, but he's really cool. And he's done some great videos, and I've shared clips from his videos through the years also. It says in 2001, Illuminati set up a disclosure meeting with dozens of high-ranking military personnel. Their purpose was to make you believe that various alien races are active on planet Earth. Let's check this out. This is from Conspiratus, which is one of his famous documentaries. I don't know if it's still around. Maybe YouTube took it down or something. All right, let's play.
In 2001, the Illuminati set up a disclosure meeting with dozens of high-ranking military personnel. Their purpose was to make you believe that various alien races are active on planet Earth. Here's a short clip from that 3-hour press meeting from 2001. What you are about to hear is completely made up and almost laughable.
The situation is that you have various types of what we normally call grays. We didn't call them grays in the military, but you had at least 3 types of the grays. You had some that were much taller than we were. The unique thing that I'd like to point out for the most part is that the entities that we did catalog were in fact humanoid. Now this created a situation where the scientific community was trying to figure out why that would be the case, because you would expect that if life evolved on other planets, that they would take on some type of other being, so to speak, not necessarily look humanoid or be bipedal such as we are. But apparently we got quite a few of the species out there that are humanoid in appearance, and that creates a question that yet has to be answered by science.
The Illuminati controls and monitors the press and all other agencies that distribute information to the public. This
Sky Serpent.
Grind. They just say that it doesn't make that much sense. And also, if they're just trying to observe us, to take account of what we're doing on Earth, I mean, after a while, after so many months or years or centuries, it kind of gets old. They either would take us over, or they've already discovered all the information they need to know about Earthlings, and so they're just going to take us over or make first contact and just sort of do what they need to do next. To endlessly observe us, it doesn't make any sense. It's something where, and also see, if we have all these sightings, as you know much better than I do. Where are they landing? We don't see them getting out to get anything to drink or to eat. We don't see them. They've never tried to make contact with any large amount of people in a major city, and so this doesn't. And also all the endless medical procedures that the people who have claimed to have been abducted, why the endless medical procedures? I mean, if we're talking about such an advanced race of alien beings, they don't need to do that over and over and over again.
Interesting perspective. Let's talk about some of the facts out there of evidence that may support your conclusion that the UFOs are spiritual phenomena, not physical, like so many other people also believe. What can we pinpoint again?
Well, again, it's something where you cannot have a material or a physical being penetrating the ground, penetrating the water, appearing in front of people, then disappearing instantly, and then also changing colors, sometimes only when they're accelerating, with every color in the spectrum has been reported. Many UFOs coming and making one UFO breaking apart and then going into multiple UFOs. it doesn't make sense. And then not only just that, but to get into the fact of how far they're traveling, and the speeds that they would have to travel, and just the other problems with cosmic dust and traveling at the speed of light, and then running into those bits of cosmic dust, the explosions that would be created, the amount of energy that would be consumed, and traveling from these distances. Just all those kinds of things really scream out that you're dealing with a spiritual phenomenon, not a material or physical phenomenon.
There does seem to be a deception here, because I've always wondered, you know, my gosh, if they're that benevolent, if they're that understanding of humankind, make yourself available.
That's why you know, some of these other scientists have said that they seem to be trying to set people up to deceive them as if they are aliens, but the facts just say that they can't be that there's something else. It doesn't make any sense, and there's something else, a psychological deception that's going on here. And many of these scientists say, I don't know what it is, but we've concluded that it's got to be that. It's got to be something bigger is going on here than just them trying to show people that, yes, you know, here's a UFO that you're seeing now, we are aliens, that there's got to be something else going on here, on top of the fact that the characteristics of them show that they just cannot be some material or physical craft.
Man, I agree, sir. I've been saying it for a long time, screaming it from the rooftops. Good to hear. Aliens are demons.
Recent congressional meetings. You will understand why when you watch this video.
This is a person I respected tremendously, very, very senior person.
This joker
told me
again.
and said, Lou, I want you to stop doing this. I said, okay, sir, I certainly can, but may I ask why? And he says, well, we already know what it is. Now, at that moment, I honestly thought maybe it was our own technology. I was running up against some super uber secret sap, and you know, they were telling me to stop. And I said, okay, sir, so it's ours? And he said, no, that's not what I'm saying. And he said, he asked me point blank, have you read your Bible lately? And I wasn't quite sure where he was going with that. And I said, well, sir, I think I know what it says. Where are you going with this? And he said, well, then you would know that these things are demonic and we should not be pursuing them.
Franklin, we see a long line, a couple of star-like things, and a lot of things swimming in the foreground. Can you describe what you're seeing?
Tricksters.
Well, the long line is a tether, and there's a little bit of debris that kind of flies with us, and...
So this is a Pentagon, this is a Department of Defense official saying, stop looking at UFOs because they're demonic?
Correct.
He says the grand plan, the master's grand plan, for harvesting the nations, for harvesting the multitudes of the earth into his cause, just before the close of the great controversy between the forces of good and evil. So we continued, you know, after we expressed ourselves that we're deeply interested to know more about the activities of the spirits. And he said it's going to be done in a unique manner. This grand plan is going to take people are going to eat the stuff. Because he says spirits, demon spirits, will declare themselves to be inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxies that are coming to warn the inhabitants of planet Earth of the impending destruction of the planet, unless something seriously proper is done to avoid it. When the spirits will, through a trance medium, converse with influential people of the land, you see, that the spirits will show themselves willing to give valuable guidance that will not only help people avoid the destruction of the planet, but it would cause it to enter into a higher state of existence. For instance, he said the spirits will promise, and this is a big word, promise, that if their recommendations are followed carefully, they will usher in a glorious new age of peace and prosperity, and there'll be there'll be no more wars, see? There'll be no more famines. There'll be no more people getting unhappy with one another. Neighbors will love neighbor, and social unrest will not take place no more. There'll be perfect happiness for 1,000 years. That's what the Spirit is going to promise.
Right. The coming of the lawless one will be in accordance with the work Satan displayed in all kinds of counterfeit miracles, signs, and wonders, and in every kind of evil that deceives those who are perishing. 2 Thessalonians 2:9. Good one. It's a good way to end that one. Good scripture. With all the talk of aliens, there's something else to consider. In 1918, the English occultist Aleister Crowley supposedly channeled a demon called Lamb, L-A-M, made a sketch of it, and of course it resembles a gray alien. Most of you around here have seen this information, but if you haven't, so yeah, on the left is Lamb, the channeled spirit, and on the right is your typical gray. And he quoted, "Today they call them angels and demons, tomorrow they will call them something else." He knew, right? Aleister knew. A bad man. A bad man.
Others talk that the aliens touched down at the Gulf of Mexico or some other stuff, and they're being cautious. To anybody who finds this video, they are not aliens. They are demons. And if you scroll on my page, I say it time and time again. These are the little g gods of old. The people who set up society. The fallen messengers, angels, whatever you want to call them, that taught man technology. These are demons, not aliens. I don't know why people are such in a rush to believe everything else but God when everything we're seeing legit is in the Bible. I am not surprised about any of this stuff. It's in the book.
Me too.
The word even says that they'll get sent a great delusion so they can believe. So many people want to take the long way around God just to not believe in God or be held accountable, as though you really think we are spinning in a ball somewhere randomly. I'm going to pray for you guys. In fact, I pray, Father, that you take away this delusion that many of these people believe. I pray that you take the hardness from their heart and you soften it so they understand truly that these aliens are demonic entities and they are playing with them. Because, guys, these are not aliens. They're going to offer you awesome things. Everything's going to be great. But Satan, the devil, Lucifer, whatever, was head of worship. He is the most beautiful. The angelic beings come in scary as heck. The demons come in like everything you want. These are not aliens. These are not aliens. These are demons. It is time for you right now to seek God, to understand that Christ, Yahushua, Jesus, is coming back. And Yahuwah, the host of hosts, the Most High, is watching all of you.
That's right, buddy. I do think about that a lot. About standing before him. I'm not scared either. I'm excited. I'm excited. Oh, this is the Zendrius thing again. We saw that earlier. And according to a U.S. Navy vet and former physicist at Los Alamos Lab, the Pentagon and U.S. government might want people to think UFOs are, quote, demonic to promote their agenda. It's kind of a backwards way of seeing it, I'd say. Juicier, if I said that right, thank you very much, says they are not organic intelligent plasma, or they are non-organic intelligent plasma. Plasma is the fourth stage of matter. It is 99% of the universe. Please read A New Science of Heaven. It connects all the dots Gen Xers were taught about. Cool, man. Thank you for that post. Thanks for your support. Thanks for the message, man. All right, let's check this out.
What we're seeing in the reports that people are making about the way these things move, the way they change direction so quickly, the way they tend to just all of a sudden flash out of view. We were convinced in the probably mid to late 80s at the latest that these are interdimensional. These are not physical in the sense of being a three-dimensional craft operated by three-dimensional creatures.
Because a lot of the people within these chains of command were saying these are demonic and we don't want to even acknowledge it. Do you think that that might be a problem within government? Do you think that we should be open to investigating this, even if it is something that maybe conflicts with belief systems?
Well, let me ask you this. Do you believe that everyone in Congress and the Senate and our government in general are all angels? They're, or are they men and women?
I think we're all just the same sinful creatures.
Men and women.
Exactly. Sinful, and not only that, some purposefully sinful. In other words, they mean to do evil.
Right.
So we do not know what's driving that. I think it's very interesting that I sense that we're in this season of God's return, and others are taking actions, and I believe feed into that feeling that I have that we are in that season. And whether they're taking those actions out of an honest approach to things, or whether they're doing those things for other motivations, I don't know.
Yep, that's right, buddy. They know. The devil knows what's coming. He's trying to get ready. This is a good one just because I hadn't seen this clip in a long time. This is a hard one to find. I tried to find it again a while back, but it was the one on him, Robert Pattinson, the actor, Liquid Crystal. It's one of the best examples of liquid crystal I've ever seen. And there's some other ones. There's another one coming with Jenna Bush. Right here. You may remember this one.
My job was to meet with teenagers who were living in exclusion, who were living in extreme poverty, or living with HIV, and write their stories, listen to their stories, and write them for UNICEF. And so, I mean, I obviously learned so much from these kids. I learned from Anna in particular, who has lived in extremely difficult.
That is one evil family, man. I remember back when I used to focus more on the Bush family in the early days. So many, even weird pictures of Barbara. Like there's one where she's flashing the horns in one hand, and on the other hand she's pointing down. And that's one of the things they do. What's his name? Tom Hanks did it in Forrest Gump when he's wearing the Medal of Honor, which is a pentagram, and the camera backs away from him and he's pointing the horns down to the ground at the same time. If you noticed that or not.
To live each day to its fullest. Doing any kind of missionary work.
One morning I'm done for the weekend, and so I'm just going to get away and spend time with family and friends and just enjoy it, relax for once. Kind of a fat chance on it.
Whoa, they look like people, except when you see that. Some people have said that when the industry switched to digital, that changed these sightings. That once everything went to digital, that screwed it up to where you don't see this as much anymore. Have you guys ever heard about that? Something I've seen through the years. And that brings us to our last clip, guys. Oh my goodness, we've almost gone 3 hours. Over 800 awesome, cool, interesting individuals. Man, I really appreciate y'all being here. Last clip. Let's check this out. Are aliens demons? Let's check a little bit of this out.
The Bible are real. They are the extraterrestrial time travelers.
And the government has known that for a long time, possibly going back to the 1930s at least.
Since 1930, they have known that this plane exists.
We don't have souls, but it's just the other way around. The soul has us.
But why won't they tell the American people?
You have spiritual beings that don't understand or really care for the physical world.
A dreadful looking plane in the sky, a half a mile by a half a mile. Built like the universe itself. It's circular and it holds within it 1,500 little wheel-like planes.
Whether you're following UFO news daily, weekly, monthly, or not at all, you're still seeing it a lot. It's coming up more than ever before and from places you'd never expect. And as the noise increases, so have the theories about what UFOs actually are. And people are falling within one of two main camps right now: aliens or angels.
There's fog that they're physical, like they're as real as the arm of your chair, and that they reproduce with people. Again, Christianity believes that. Jesus, Immaculate Conception, spirit reproduces with human woman.
Is actually spoken to about UFOs is Dr. Gary Nolan. Nolan is part of the Invisible College, a Rosicrucian offshoot of academia that has been investigating the UFO phenomenon for decades. But we'll get into that later. In 2023, Tucker had Nolan on his show where they discussed the topic in detail.
The current view of the intel community.
It is a hypothesis.
What could possibly be controlling these biological machines that were built specifically to interact with us? To answer this question, I only had to look at other interviews Gary Nolan has done, like this one from 2022 on the Lex Fridman podcast. Again, the language Gary uses is very important here.
How would you, as a higher intelligence, represent yourself to a lesser intelligence? Well, let's go back to pre-civilization. Maybe you show yourself as the spirits in the forest, and you give messages through that. Once you get a little bit more civilized, then you show yourself as the gods. And then you're God. Well, we don't believe in God anymore necessarily. Not everybody does. So what do we believe in? We believe in technology. So you show yourself as a form of technology, right? But the common thread is you're not alone. And there's something else here with you. And there's something that's, as you said, watching you, and at least watching over your shoulder. But I think that, like any good parent, you don't tell your student everything. You make them learn. And learning requires mistakes, because if you tell them everything, then they get lazy.
Keep in mind, this is one of the leading academics on the UFO topic in the world. Yet he's explaining the UFO phenomenon using terminology that is interchangeable with how someone would describe a guardian angel.
All right, I'll move on. So it's interesting, this guy seems to be taking more of an approach of these might be angels. Well, kind of. Not the good ones, you know, but it's all right. This is from the last clip of some Chupacabra. It's 30 minutes long, but what I saw earlier was really good. I just don't want to play the guy's whole video, but if you want to go check it out, go check it out on Chupacabra over here on Twitter X. Meow? Did you guys hear Chubbs? What? He's really been... Summer's weird for him. He doesn't like to go out as much outside because it's so darn hot. So I play with him a lot in here, but he gets bored. You know how cats are. Anyway, enough about Chubbs. It's about you guys. Hey, really, y'all, thank you so much for being with me tonight. Almost did 3 hours. Not bad. I'm going to go ahead and jump off this and jump over into the chat with you guys for a second now. Let me throw a little background up here for us. Yes, sir. Aw, I hear you. I'm going to have to spend some time with the big guy over here. Good boy. Guys, thanks again. Good to see you, Tamara. Thank you, as always, my friend. Nice to see everybody. We've got such a great crowd. Thank you guys, man. Thanks again for those of you who donated, man. I appreciate that. Very kind of you. Thank you so much. And yeah, I hope you liked the show, man. I feel better now. I just wanted to kind of go through everything like that in the show and not have to put it in a video. I already got a new video coming up. It'll be up this week. Once again, I hope you saw my new music video I dropped just a couple days ago. So go check that out. It's not on YouTube, but you'll find it on all my other spots. Check my links below. Massive shout out to the supporters of the videos and shows. Can always use the support, so please check the links below. If you're able to, if you'd like to, thank you. And what else? I think that pretty much is it. Yeah, man. Thanks again, guys. Brand47, Zabrina, Coda, Sharebear, Mockfox, Ghostly World. Nice to see y'all. Yep, that's Chubb saying show's over, man. Let's go. Yep, he's over here playing right now. Thanks, Jared and Gina. Good to see y'all. Psy or C, Jolanta, Scaleworks. Thanks, y'all. Ned, Tim, Alicia Rowe. Good to see you, man. So don't forget, you guys, tomorrow I've got KJ's What Happened right here on YouTube, 2 p.m. Central Standard. Hope you can make it. Got a great crowd over there, too, and I got plenty to share with you from the week, so I'm looking forward to that. Then Monday is the Uncensored Show on Rumble, and then this coming week I got a brand new video, long-form video coming out for you guys. So again, thanks to the supporters so very much, man. Love you guys. Appreciate it. Love all y'all, man. Thank you so much again for being here and sharing your precious time with me. I'll say a quick prayer before we go. Heavenly Father, I always have to thank you for this great family around here, these people on these shows, and just the friendships and connections we've made. You know, thank you so much for all of them, and thanks for the platforms, of course. Please protect them. I always appreciate any platform I can have these days, so thank you. Thanks for all your blessings. Thanks for everything you do for us in our lives, and you know, forgive us for maybe not being as grateful or thinking about it, but just thanks for everything. So we know all good things come from you, and please be with all of us these days, Lord. People are definitely going through their different trials and tribulations in these days, and it's really difficult. You know, we know what time it is, and it's hard to be in a world where so many people just don't see. So even on that note, I pray, as we're told to, that, you know, I pray that we all escape all the horrors coming upon this earth, Lord. So thank you, and just thanks for being with us in general. Again, Father, we love you, appreciate you, and in Jesus' name I pray, amen. All right, you guys. Thanks once again, man. Pleasure to have you here. It's always a lot of fun, man. I'm feeling good. We got a lot of information out tonight, so I hope it helps, man. Yeah, these are very deceptive times, but, you know, we're trusting the Lord, stay close to Jesus. That's it. You know, cling to Christ. I always think that, just running back to him like a child. You know, your belt's not on tight enough, your pants are dragging, you're skipping over your feet, just a little kid running to dad, you know, but always trust in Jesus. Run back to Jesus. He's got us, man. He's got us. He's got this. There's no fear in any of the stuff that's happening here. You know, we're blessed that we have an inside. You know, we kind of get to know what's coming, you know, so that's a huge blessing. So, yeah, just keep trying to put the seeds out there in people who don't know the Lord yet, you know, and try to let them know about him. And I'm not the best at that in real life either, evangelizing, you know, but I still try. You know, we still, even in our lives out in this world, you know, every day we're still with the Lord. We got to remember that. It's not like a churchianity thing. Like, we're really in a relationship with the Lord, and we're trying to reflect his love and kindness and compassion in this world, you know, the best we can, man. It needs it, right? So anyway, man, thanks. You guys are all amazing. I mean it. Just thank you so much, each and every one. Y'all have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow here on YouTube, 2 p.m. Central Standard, for KJ's What Happened, okay? All right. Thanks again, y'all. Take care, and I'll see you tomorrow. Appreciate you.